What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 205 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. I am Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
That's me.
And
eating pink stuff out of diapers.
Oh, God, that's
pre-show content.
What a ridiculous pre-show that was, ladies and gentlemen. The Reverend Jared Petty.
Doki doki.
And once again, the hair. Friend Mirabella.
The new guy, what's up?
Big fan of this. Big fan. I've been loving having you on the show, man. This has just been an energy. There's just been like last week's episode was one of my, if not my favorite episode we have ever done.
Really?
You
Jared incited.
went off the rails, and it was just exciting to be a part of that ride.
You know, I think I
stick
stick to my point. I think I defended it poorly.
I love it.
I think
he didn't give you a chance.
I didn't really.
We shut that shit down.
I wish we had gotten to my most controversial opinion, which we never did touch.
That wasn't even it.
Throw it out now. Just throw it out.
Oh no! That's a horse of a different color right there,
Ladies
my
and gentlemen. This is the Kind of Funny Gamescast each and every week right here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. We get together to talk about video games, all the things that we love about them. You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, and at the silver membership level, you can get the show 3 days early, both audio and video, with the pre and post show, and you get to watch live as we're recording it. We just did like a 25-minute pre-show that was really insane. Kind of went through,
talked food, top foods.
Yep,
it's a lot of food, really.
Something about
mostly
making bloody oatmeal.
There was a delivery that happened.
Oh yeah,
that was unexpected.
Yeah,
that's why you watch live. Maybe we'll accidentally break an embargo.
Maybe
your embargo should have been in the printed piece of paper you gave me. But
I don't know. But if you don't have any bucks to toss our way, that is totally fine. You can get the show for free on Monday at 6 a.m. on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, or on any of your favorite podcast services. Just search for Kind of Funny Gamescast. We appreciate it very much. But if you do have some dollars for us, that'd be really cool, because the entire month of January, we are crowdfunding our way to a world tour, a whole bunch of new content, and the future of Kind of Funny. Go to patreon.com/kindoffunny or patreon.com/kindoffunnygames to be a part of that, and we appreciate it very much. But for now, let's just get right into it. What we've been playing this week.
Hey, what you been playing?
I want to start off
Andy
with a little game called Onimusha.
Oh,
it's been a long time, my friends. One of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time. Let me take that back. One of my favorite PlayStation 2 series of all time. 3 was actually my favorite. Controversial opinion there, but whatever. I stand by it. I loved one of the first major PS2 games. The first one to cross 1 million in sales. It was a big deal back in the day. It was the first Resident Evil style game we got on PlayStation 2, and I remember it just being the coolest fucking thing. There was cutscenes, and there was action, and it was like alternate Japanese history, samurai, and everything was just fucking badass and cool.
You were kind of sitting there going, okay, I finally see where the next gen's going. Like, because the PlayStation 2 was hard to develop for, and it really did take a while for the games to start feeling next gen.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was my bad.
Over?
But yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't it pre-rendered as well, mixed with real-time stuff?
Yeah, there's still
it wasn't mixed with real time. It was pre-rendered.
Yeah, there's still a lot of tricks used in there, definitely. Right. But it definitely gave you a hint of where things were headed.
But that was what was amazing. We saw it in Resident Evil, but then when that came out, like the fire, your character, everything looked amazing. But you're walking around this really
beautiful looking
world back
area.
then.
Yeah, and that's the thing is back then there's a lot of keywords there. Now, interesting thing about this game, it's only like 5 hours long, and it's actually even shorter now, because back in the day it was tank controls. It was just like Resident Evil. You hit forward to go forward, but then if you want to go the other way, you'd have to hit left. Your character would turn, and then you'd go. Right? All camera relative. Every time you get to a new get out of the shot, the camera would completely change to a different pre-rendered background, and your tank controls would totally flip. And that totally made sense for a survival horror game that's slower paced like Resident Evil. Made a lot less sense for an action-oriented game like Onimusha, that at the end of the day is kind of like a 3D version of a side-scrolling brawler.
Yeah.
Like beat 'em up, where you just kind of go and mash the button, hit the things, and then suck the energy, and you're done.
It's kind of part Die Hard Arcade and kind of part DMC and kind of part Resident Evil in a really weird way.
And back then, that was novel, and it worked. Playing through this game for the first time since then, it's cool because they added analog controls. So now you can just fully walk around the areas and stuff.
And does the camera move now?
No, the camera does not move.
So
still pre-rendered.
Fixed.
It's widescreen now. So it's HD remaster.
Okay.
So it looks, bad. compared to other games, but it looks good.
Kind of like when they did Resident Evil 1's like remaster, and it still had like the same camera angles and stuff in it. Did you play that?
Yeah,
That was like full asset remake. And
well,
everything for
actually,
those.
you're talking about on PS4.
GameCube.
Yeah, it was on
Gotcha.
PS4, PC.
The PS4 remaster of the remake on GameCube.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is
that's
just
what
like
I'm talking
that.
about,
It is
yeah.
just like that. So because of that, it does look good, but since it didn't have that remake in between, it is just like widescreen and up-resed from the
Yeah, of
PS2,
course.
not from like a
Right.
better looking
Sounds
version.
like
of
some
it.
older assets and stuff. Is it multiple games? It's
Nope,
Onimusha
it's
Warlords.
just
isn't it?
Onimusha Warlords, the first one.
Now,
I
you-
didn't realize that. I
you
thought
said
it was like
it's-
a package of games.
Yeah.
No.
You said it's actually shorter than 5 hours now with the new
It's
controls.
shorter than 5 hours because the tank controls would slow you down before,
Right.
but now that it's analog, you kind of just run around, zip, zap, zap. you
But
know?
that's, in my mind, that's a feature, not a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's great.
Totally with you. It makes it so much better. But slowing or speeding the game up that way just gets you to the like weird ass things that we put up with for so many years a lot quicker. The puzzles in the game. Wow. It is totally, it's old school Resident Evil.
Shiny, flickering objects.
There's a blue thing here.
Yeah.
It goes in the blue thing there.
Yep.
There's numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 6, 7. Oh, we got to put them in the order that the numbers should go.
Oh, what a great puzzle.
And it's just like,
Penny Arcade's best joke ever. You know, I found the rooster key. All right, when I see the chicken door, I'll let you know. Yeah,
and that's totally what it is. And so that's super weird. The cutscenes are unskippable, which is like, oh no.
A lot of people worked on them, Tim. Show
And-
some respect.
And that was a big problem back then, I remember, because there's certain scenes where there's certain segments of the game where you can't save wherever you want. You need to go to a magic mirror,
Right.
And find that to upgrade or to save. You save, then you have to go through the like dungeon areas and like do the puzzles. Then you fight the boss. There's a cutscene right before the boss. If you lose the boss, you got to do all that over.
that shit.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh no, because like it wasn't that fun to begin with doing it
Same.
the first time and having to do the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 puzzle again. You're like, oh great, already knew the easy ass answer to this. But it's just like, it's not that the game is bad. It's just that we have come so far. In a lot of ways, I had such a blast playing it just because I didn't realize how primitive it was. You know, like I would have been like, oh, it's not that different than things are now. Oh my God, it is.
It's like a time capsule.
It's such a time capsule, and it just brought me back to playing it. And every time I'd get to a different boss or get a new weapon upgrade, because at the end of the day, Onimusha, still fucking cool. The 3 different weapons you get with the different elemental powers, super badass. They make you feel super powerful, which is all you could want from an action game like this. But my favorite thing is I love the mechanic of when you kill the enemies, you get this gauntlet that you hold. I think it's circle. And after you kill them, you like suck their souls in, and, and it powers you
that's
up, and then
right.
you cash those in. It's like that's the currency system. And there's just something really
first
freaking
Dark
cool
Souls.
about killing them and then sucking, like, and mid
Killing and
fight,
sucking.
you're surrounded by enemies. You kill a couple of them, start to suck while another guy's coming at you. You stop sucking, and slice them.
gotta be a better way to
You're
say
literally sucking. I don't
Mega
know.
Maid has gone
There's
from suck to blows.
Yeah, there's no better way to like fucking explain what's happening. That gauntlet is sucking hard.
I want to go back for a second to what you said about not realizing how primitive it was.
Onimusha, it sucks.
I think everybody here has read Understanding Comics, right?
Understands comics?
Comic
Understanding Comics, the book about comic books and
Oh,
how
I've
storytellers
not read
done it.
this,
Never
no,
read it,
no,
Fran?
no.
It's totally, it's fantastic. I know Greg's read it. Have you read it, Tim?
I don't read.
It's this really neat book that explains how all this stuff is going on in well-designed comics that you don't realize is happening when you're reading them to make the story go. What's happening between the frames, your mind is filling in the gaps
Oh,
between
yeah.
each picture. And that a good artist, a good storyteller in comics manipulates that in ways that you can't in a novel or a movie. One of the things that I'm discovering as I get older about video games is we do the same thing in a weird way with old games. Where like we have these memories of the context we were in when we first saw them, and we kind of fill in the gaps in the game, and we filled them in then. So unless we go back and look, they just stay that way in our heads.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a really neat.
The backstory you would give for why you're doing something in a 8-bit game that like you're like, all right, cool, you're going there and you've read the instruction manual, so you're filling all this information in to craft and weave a narrative to make it more entertaining for yourself as you play. But then when you go back, it is just like, I go there.
And it's kind of
And I do this.
exactly, and it's kind of unique to like other than comics. I've never seen another place except games. This happens, and I think there's probably a scholarly paper to be written in this somewhere. I haven't figured out where yet, but I really think that's a cool observation. I want to go back and take a look at this.
It's
now.
I mean it's super rad to play through because like there's like fun nostalgia things that aren't bad just because they're old. Like the sound effects are super novel and fun. Every time you slash an enemy, it has this like obnoxiously, like it sounds like you just take a grapefruit and just like throw it on the ground. It's like, and it's like so unnecessary, but like it adds to the like kind of, again, coolness of this game. The main character, Samanosuke, awesome. I fucking love him. The story is batshit insane. And I swear to God, every cutscene goes back and forth between this is cringeworthy, the worst voice acting, the worst writing. It's unskippable. Everything, the animation is so stilted and bad where it's like everyone moves like this at all times. And I'm like, this is horrible. And then the next cutscene, they'll introduce like some evil character demon thing. And you're like, this is like the coolest parts of the animes that I love.
Yeah.
And I love they take actual Japanese history, but then like totally just make it like, but what if some crazy shit happened instead? And as you go through the game, it just kind of gets more and more crazy. And I by the end of it, I was just like, I enjoyed that way more than I should have. And I hope that they release 2 and 3.
Rad.
Yeah, $20. It's really not bad.
Yeah, I couldn't tell at first if you were like, it kind of doesn't hold up. It doesn't, but you really enjoy the nostalgia, it sounds like, and appreciating how far things have come.
So if I'm a kid these days, I have my Switch, I haven't played an Onimusha before, do you recommend it?
I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't think that it would hold up like that at all. But if you are an adult that played Onimusha before, I recommend giving it a shot. If you're an adult that hasn't played Onimusha before but grew up with the PlayStation 2, I think it's worth looking into. Just like really like it's a weird look at what a PS2 game actually would be nowadays. I feel like we talk about that a lot when we are talking about new games. Like, oh, it feels like what a PS2 game might be.
Kingdom Hearts 3,
yeah. But like this, I'm like, oh no, I'm wrong about that. This is really what it would be like. And it was interesting playing Onimusha and then also playing the Resident Evil 2 one-shot demo.
Resident Evil 2.
You played that.
I did. Did you play it?
Me, Andy, and Nick played it for upcoming party mode.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I can't wait for that game. I can't wait. I had been, since it got announced and we saw the trailer, I was like, yep. And then you started hearing people who, like Jared or Britt from What's Good, play it and be like, this is amazing. For me, it had been that thing of, didn't connect with Resident Evil 2 back in the day because the tank controls just wasn't something I could put up with, and it took me out of the experience. So then, obviously, seeing Resident Evil evolve and come around, even with Resident Evil 4, which I played and enjoyed, I was always like, man, this would be cooler if it was Resident Evil 2 or even 1, right? Which I know eventually they double back for. But I want that zombie experience. I want a zombie movie experience.
But even then, with Resident Evil 1, they never doubled back to fix the tank controls.
Right, exactly.
Like,
just to make it look better.
Well, in the remake, actually, they do have a non-tank control mode.
Really?
Yeah, in the latest remake, the one that came out.
The PS4 ones?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
shit,
PS4
I didn't know
PC.
that.
I played it on PC, but yeah, there is a non-tank control mode.
Yeah, because I remember the GameCube when it first was remade. I was like, "This looks how I want it to." But God, it's
that
still
was the thing when I
PlayStation.
back in college playing it on my GameCube. Where I was like, this is cool and the lights are down and I'm creeped out. But it was like, oh fuck, how am I doing?
So yeah,
this?
you didn't get a chance to play the 3 demos.
Correct. Yeah, I didn't play it
at all.
Jared went and did it. Yeah, exactly. So this is my first time getting on sticks, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was that rare moment where everybody had been talking about it because of the it's this. If you're not familiar, it's the one-shot demo where you have one shot to play it. You have 30 minutes on a clock, and that's all you're allowed to do in the game, which is such a cool concept. When I excuse me, when I finished it, it was. Jen's like, oh man, that was great. Can we do it again? Can we restart? And I'm like, you must be able. And you came back and like immediately like, no, buy the game. Like, oh fuck,
Awesome.
all right, that's awesome.
good
I
for
respect
them.
that.
I think you can hack it on PC. People were speed running it. I didn't look into how, and you probably shouldn't. But I heard that people did it in like 2 minutes something.
Oh sure, yeah.
Of course they did, and that's what they'll do. Stuff like
That's
that.
hilarious.
But yeah, for somebody who doesn't have an affinity for it or like that nostalgia, other than when I put it in and I knew I should enjoy it and couldn't enjoy it, like the space is creepy. It looks beautiful. Like
But it's not just like any of what we're talking about.
No. Yeah,
this is completely ground up.
Yeah.
They took the world that is Resident Evil 2 and everything's rebuilt.
Yeah.
And they're doing new things too, right? It's set in the same path, right?
I don't know enough about that.
We think it is.
It is
and
Resident
some of the same
Evil.
moments.
Everything I've seen of it is a lot of
demo
the
I
same
played.
iconic moments. It seemed just to be kind of parsed to the best moments of the game.
Yeah.
They're very smart in their approach. And it kind of exists as this weird hybrid place between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4. It looks a lot like 4, but it brings you in closer and handles claustrophobia
it's
well.
really cinematic.
Right, and most games don't handle being really close to enemies well, but this game slows everything down without being tanky, and then suddenly you have a lot of agency in those close moments, but you have to react quickly to make a limited. It's almost Dark Soulsy. You've got a very few options available, and you've got to choose them immediately.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're just dead. And that makes it frightening.
I truly believe that this has a shot at being the best Resident Evil game we've ever had.
Yeah,
and
me too.
That is taking 4 into consideration. I absolutely love 4, but there's something about this, like watching Andy play it, me playing at E3. It looks so good, and there's shots in this in the one-shot demo when you see the zombies and their jaw is like fucking open and like it like just starts moving shit. And the RE engine that came from Resident Evil 7 paired with the simpler times story of Resident Evil 2, where it is just Raccoon City. It's kind of just distilled down to like the best elements of what Resident Evil was.
I think that's what people have always pictured Resident Evil as. You know, it was reinvented on the farm, so to speak, and the cults of RE4, and then 7, like the weird backcountry stuff. All that's been great. I mean, overall. But I think anytime you mention Resident Evil, for the most part, a lot of people are like, oh, there's like a cop, and there's
Raccoon
like
City,
a hero, and there's zombies, like you said, and there's cop zombies and all that. So that's what I picture, and that for me, when I went back to it, it's a little bit of the nostalgia you were talking about for some of us, but I think it's just so what you picture. And man, I played it at E3. I didn't get to do the one-shot demo, but all I remember is running into a hallway with my light on the end of my gun. I could not see anything, and there was like murky water in the hallway. I mean, a level of detail we've never seen.
And the shadows,
and I could not find my way around, and there was somebody like chasing me down.
Yeah.
And screams and sound effects that are just so far beyond what it was, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the key point, is that this is likely to be the scariest Resident Evil ever, and that's what excites me. Because
I don't know if it could beat 7. Okay, and that's my thing, is 7 having the first person perspective, and with that engine, like had some like real capacity for scary ass moments. With this, I feel like the camera angles, it's going to be very scary, but I feel like it's still going to be a bit more. There's something about that first person of like, I hope.
Here's what I'll say.
Did you play the 30-minute demo you said?
Yeah. Well, Andy did. I watched it. We did not
play it, dude. Meaning the feeling of running away
through 7, right, and playing half of the game in VR, like it was definitely unnerving, and I was, what's gonna happen, stuff like that. Like the 30-minute demo, it was me and Jen on the couch. We had seen everybody tweeting about it. We waited to that night when the lights, turn on the lights, put on the thing. Like I legitimately screamed, and I don't remember screaming in Resident Evil 7.
That's the thing. You have that agency.
Scary.
They found a way that the argument was always before the tank controls make the game scarier. Well, they did in a lot of ways, but it seems like, and I can only express this through feeling, I want to analyze it later when I played more of the game, that they found a way to put you more in control and use that to make the game scarier. Because you have that agency, you're frightened. They found some magic formula to make that work. And Resident Evil 4 is one of the most important video games of all time. Resident Evil 4 defined the third-person action-adventure genre from its inception on. Like there were games before and after that, and everything from Gears of War to Fortnite owes that game a debt of gratitude in certain ways. I don't think 2 is going to have that kind of impact on the industry that 4 did, but I do think that it might be more fun than 4 was.
Yeah, I was blown away, like what you're talking about with interiors and how it looked, and being just a zombie movie fanatic, right? Like the feel of it, the environmental storytelling of like, so you haven't played the one shot, but like, so I don't know how much you read about it either. Or you saw Andy play. Sorry, my apologies. So if you're joining us, it isn't 30 minutes from the start of the game. It's for a little bit into the game. It's already happened. You're in the police station or whatever, but like to wander into like the briefing room for the cops where all their desks are, and they have like the welcome Leon sign up. And there's so many little touches in there. I was like, oh right, like there was a life here before this happened. Like I'm in the moment of it happening still.
And going back to what you were saying about the tank controls making it scarier, whereas this game does other things to add to the fear. I think it is those little touches of this feels like a real world that you couldn't achieve on PlayStation 1.
Sure.
And going forward with that, with the graphics, like it looks stunning. Like the character animations look great. The shadows, the lighting, the water effects, all of that, I feel really add to the claustrophobia and the fear, because when you're walking down the hallway and like as you're moving and as your light moves, you see the shadows move on stuff.
Yeah, all those small
that
touches,
gets you, because there is only one zombie here, one zombie there, but The fear is that there's hundreds.
Yeah.
And it really feels like
that's
that.
That's what I'm saying. And I know that you can obviously appreciate a game by looking at it, but seriously, when you put your hands in control and you're the one who's got to run away, when you make one bad turn in that game, just meaning that feeling that grips you, that is what Resident Evil is about. And in a way, it is still
your last few bullets.
Yes, your ammo and what you're conserving, your health, all that. But like even without the tank controls, that was a device in some ways back then. But it was just part of it, and like meaning now it's still slow.
Yeah,
it's not like you can just like run and jump out a window and leave. Okay, you are trapped in here. With all this stuff happening, and it very much is the atmosphere. This is a game you're going to want to play with the sound up, the headphones on. I'm super excited. Yeah,
Can't wait.
And now the one like negative thing I have to say is, like, especially after having just played Onimusha, is it still is. Here's the blue thing. Here's the blue thing.
But they can't get rid of that.
I get it. I understand. I'm just saying. It's like. That is definitely not great for modern game design.
But maybe this is where it's going. This is that first step to go back to where it really all began. Resident Evil 1 was great. 2 was the one that everyone really was like, oh my God, back then. So they get that out of the way. Everybody's super happy they take all this tech, and guess what? The next one is that that complete reinvention, though, of taking everything that they've learned and doing maybe what you're talking about, bring it back to that feeling in the city, all this stuff that you love. It's not a cult anymore. It's not the backcountry of Louisiana or whatever, and take all of this, but now without those puzzles. Now it gets clever. That would be awesome to see.
Because I loved 7, but it lost me at some point, where it's just like, I love it as the game, and I feel like there's so much that game did right.
It was a long game.
But story, I feel like it was too long, and the story, I'm just like, you're doing too fucking much.
Yeah.
Like, keep this simpler, keep this about the horror and the scary moments, and I just feel like it got a little too like, okay, now
it did the same thing. I feel
insane.
All the Resident Evil games do is that I as a zombie guy, I just want a zombie movie, and inevitably they all go, oh fuck, guess what?
There's a zombie shark.
It's all this and it's this. I'm like, can we just be zombies?
Okay, let's hop in right. First off, I love the zombie shark. Second, second, I think this is something we haven't commented on yet.
Shark zombie. All right.
We haven't seen deep. We haven't seen deep into the game yet.
Yeah.
But at least in the early stages, one of the things they've done that makes the game so effective is they've made one zombie. You talked about it's usually 1 or 2, but you feel like it's 100. 1 or 2 zombies feels like a legitimate threat. That's another huge change, is that every zombie you encounter, at least when you don't have a clue what you're doing, really has the potential to just make you very dead very quickly. There's never seems to be enough bullets. You rely on the hand-to-hand combat elements more than you ever did in the old game. And so that makes it feel really
survival
horror. Yeah,
and I
love that. So I think when they escalate that curve up, I imagine that'll come with better weapons, kind of like it did in the first game. But I don't think they're going to diverge wildly from that idea that a single enemy of any kind is always a threat.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that people who haven't played 2 and some of the earlier games, you played 4 and 7, they are markedly different in style. 4 was an action game with the tank controls still, but all that came together. But I mean, there were hordes of zombies running you, and 7 kind of mixes all that together in its own way. It's just different and unique, especially with the first person. But I think when you go back to 2, you'll realize what a survival horror was and how they made it what it is today. And I think we're going to go back to that world, and you'll realize when you got one bullet in the chamber, you're running down that hallway and you can't see anything, that is the feeling that makes it so special. And meaning the demo I played, I felt that. Hopefully, you can keep that up without the fatigue. I mean, that's why we end up with zombie sharks, because eventually you got to fight a big boss.
Yeah, no, I get it. What's funny about what you just said is that I didn't put this together, but this game reminds me a bit more of Dead Space than Resident Evil 4.
Interesting.
In terms of like,
which was more survival.
Yeah,
Dead Space 1 was totally survival horror.
So
Dead Space 2 is when they turn that corner, like, now it's gonna be an action.
Yeah, Dead Space 1.
And Dead Space 3 is like, now we're gonna make a bad game.
I think a lot of the RE4 comparisons are just from the fact that you can control where you're going. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of that comes from. But it's definitely everything I've played of it feels like something especially unique and a wonderful hybrid of 2 different design philosophies that seem to be working well.
Super excited to get it.
Yeah.
Next up, Fran, you finally beat Red Dead Redemption 2.
I did.
Wow.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, poke.
It's all right, girl. So it would be a very long discussion. I don't know if we should stick on that one, but I will go back to what I've been saying. I'm glad that my feeling through the thousands of hours or however long it's been has been mostly right. It is you know what it's a cowboy RPG, and it is so real when you're in that world.
Too real.
And, we were talking about it in the last show. I said it's the smell of the game, and it really is for me. The atmosphere is so thick, like literally the way it looks and smells to you, and that part is amazing. But oh my God, I got into, I'm not going to spoil anything. I got into like the end after the end. And I'm like, I mean, this is not a spoiler. I'm milking a cow for like, I don't know, it was like 15 minutes.
You milk that cow for like 5
Okay, but
minutes.
you shovel crap in
For
the
like
game.
5 minutes.
No, what I mean is,
you
no,
see exactly.
No, what I'm talking about, this section that I actually went back and looked at this. That section that everybody gripes about is one mission that lasts like 5 minutes.
Get that, but what I would say about the game though is it takes you, so the opening really strong, amazing atmosphere, it's winter or whatever, right? And then it drops you into like this huge world. We've talked about it. You can spend your time doing unbelievable amount of stuff, robbing trains, and that's what it's about. And it's very real to you, despite some of the weird bugs and some of the paces. You just follow people forever. But if you like that stuff, it's amazing. I actually do find myself wanting to go back to it now. I don't have the time, but I
You're
want
like on
to.
stream playing a game, you just drift off out the window,
Yeah,
wistfully
exactly.
thinking of neighing horses.
Have you been streaming Red Dead at all?
Oh, I did the
You
whole
playing
thing.
it?
I played the whole. Well, I played the entire
Sorry, where do you
experience for
stream
Red
that?
Dead. That's right. Thank you, Tim. Be sure to catch me on Twitch TV/FM3_. Seriously, do need your support. And actually, by the way, I should mention I do giveaways all the time. It's always running. So all you got to do is head over to Twitch TV/FM3_. Hit if you hit exclamation giveaway in chat, you'll get the link. But otherwise, I'll put it on my Twitter.
If you open
but
your
you
DOS
always
and
have a
put
chance.
/reset hard drive.
You follow though. All you have to do is follow. You always have a chance to win free game. Anyway, plugs aside, I play everything that I play on there. Thank you, Tim.
Including Gris.
Including Gris or whatever, which I finished. By the way, glad we get to go back to this. So
Yeah,
rewind. Have you played any since
we talked
then?
about it on the show, right? No, I haven't played any more since then. Where I was ahead of you. You had just started it, and we were having that
So you
conversation.
did play some.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Remember we talked about this? Yeah. I did unlocked 4 or 5, 6 colors somewhere in
Oh,
there.
you're
Yeah.
basically done.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
You
Well,
are.
no. Then 4
You're
colors.
far. So
Okay.
but you're super far. So at least you'll know what I'm talking about then. I actually have to say I'd go back when I first started playing, and I did that thing that I think everyone who's jaded industry person does, and you've played so many games over your lifespan. You're like, oh, it's a pretty indie game, like cool music, and you played for a little bit. You're like, it's cool, but you're thinking about experiences like God of War and Red Dead, and Anthem's coming up, and Division, but I went back to it to beat it. And man, I gotta say, please play this game.
Really?
Beautiful for me. I'm curious because you've actually played a lot, but play it with the headphones on. The music is outstanding. It's such an experiential, beautiful, artistic game. I realized you don't die in the game. It didn't even occur to me until later. You're always moving through this beautiful watercolor fantasy world, and it is honestly, I think it's a beautiful achievement in gaming. It's funny because it's not like heavy puzzle work. It's just this experience and this story. So anyway, I really loved it in the end.
Okay.
Got to put the headphones on. And by the time you get to the end, I felt very connected with the world. And, and it's only about 4 hours, by the way. 3 or 4 hours.
I'm going to go back
Investing.
to it then because I was scared off by the heel Greg Miller, who doesn't love video games.
Hate games.
And pushes
Jaded industry guy.
Yeah,
Jaded
pushes
industry
us
guy.
away from anything that's not Spider-Man. It's been proven. It's science. But yeah, I'm really glad to hear that you enjoyed this. I do want to try it out. and see what
Curious. I
think.
mean, Greg, the thing is, you juggle a lot of games at once. When you played the game, did you spend a good hour within that world and with the headphones on kind of thing?
Well,
or sound
yeah.
up?
Well, I was playing. Yeah, I was sound up on TV, but yeah, I played through it. Yeah, with Jen and Lucy in the room. We were hanging out for a
Did
while.
you feel, I mean, even without finishing,
If
did
you
feel
remember the
it's
line,
lacking anything, or-
the line I came away with was, I didn't find it entertaining, but I don't know if it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be a meditative. It's not pushing you too hard. It is, you're just going through and
It is.
bringing
You're right.
color back to this world. And
It
stuff.
is more of going to the art museum and enjoying the art.
Yeah.
There are things in the game that there's true platforming puzzle work though, and you've played some of it with platforms disappearing and things you
Sure.
gotta find.
Yeah.
That's
Timing
where
things right. You jump, something comes, disappears or appears.
So it is a platformer in the end. That's the biggest thing that it has going for it. But I really like the beauty of it, and I just think these are the types of games that we need in addition to these crazy giant blockbuster risks that are taken. And you should go out there and support it. It's only, I thought it was 17, but maybe it's $20, somewhere in there. So check it out. I really liked it.
Next up, Hades.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Early access, by the way, another game you can support me. I am an Epic Store creator.
Hey!
Everything from the Division to this, I can send you the link. It's on my Twitter right now, but if you buy the game, you get a little share of that.
Hades is so fucking good.
That's right. It's Fran Mirabella in the creator store. You can just type it in, the creator tag. Anyway, plugs aside again. So Hades, has anyone else played it?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm curious what you think. I went in and I was like, I've been wanting to play this game. It was getting some buzz at the end of the year. It's in early access. And it's basically this sort of not endless, but it has that feel of an endless dungeon runner where you're getting these upgrades. The big twist on the game, or just the unique thing is every time you go re-enter the dungeon, you kind of go back to hell each time and back into these dungeons, you get this RNG from the different gods of different powers each time. So you're not playing with one set of powers in a skill tree exactly, but it changes every time, and the rooms change with what you have. So anyway, I really enjoyed it. I found myself after the first 20, 30 minutes, and I like games like this, I was really starting to grind and trying to get the, keys and the currency to buy the stuff I need and get a lot better. It is a little more, I think, I haven't really played League of Legends and Dota, but games where you're doing multiple directions while pointing directions with the mouse at least. I don't know how it works on console.
Dork.
But
it plays like a Super Giant game. It's a Super Giant game through
and it's
and
like
through.
Transistor and Bastion.
And that's the thing where, it feels like taking Bastion's mechanics and mashing it up with a roguelite and then putting me back into this world with a really funny story and really cool, really cool characters.
Story's funny.
Can you guys clarify for me, because this is the kind of game that's generally my jam, how deep do they dig into the roguelike element? When you die, what do you lose? What do you bring back? Because that varies from every roguelike, and I'm really curious what the structure is.
So when you die, you go back to the beginning, but the thing is, in your room, you can buy types of weapons. That's one thing. You also can buy a couple buffs. Like as you enter each room, you get +1 HP, or you earn more. It's called darkness. So you get little buffs, and I've only unlocked like a portion of them. So not a lot. So you kind of go back to the beginning, but a big difference, for example, right? You start the game, you have your sword. That's it.
Yeah.
But then after you earn 4 keys or whatever, you can buy the spear, which is a completely different way to play.
And do you retain the spear for every game from then on?
You can only choose to go in with one or the other.
But you always have the choice.
You always have choice.
It's in your armor.
So that unlocks.
So it's not a full reset.
Sounds
The way some
much better
roguelikes
than
are.
Dead Cells.
And then there's little things like you earn ambrosia, which you can gift to the gods, and they will give you a keepsake. And for example, that's a permanent thing you also have in your room, and you can put on one keepsake. As far as I know, I don't know if you can put on multiple, but for example, you'll start with a chance of better RNG, so you'll get a rare type perk from one of the gods as you go in. It's 3 perks when you go in. Anyway, I really encourage checking it out. Again, only a $20 less game, early access. I think a studio that's proven to us
100%
that they do great work. And by the way, it's in early access because they're doing updates every month. They just did their first big update, patched up a bunch of stuff. And yeah, I think if you're interested in this, be part of that experience. They're open to all your feedback. Now's the time to get in.
I think this is going to be a huge hit for them. I feel, and I'm not trying to take away from anything. I think Pyre was a bit too weird. Where Pyre had an audience that people loved it, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't, it was Bastion and Transistor, and then it felt like Pyre's fervor wasn't as loud. I feel this is so approachable, so engaging.
Art style's so cool.
When this comes to Switch, this is the way I was obsessed with Rogue Legacy on my Vita will be how I'm obsessed with Hades on the Switch.
Yeah.
Because I had the same thing. I played it here at the office, right, Tim? On when I actually I was so into Supergiant that I actually played a PC game, right?
Yeah.
And put it in there and made it work, and it ran like shit, of course, because it's PC. And I was
on your PC.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, it's
Jared's
my
ass.
fault. Of course, yeah. Jared's thing can't even fucking work.
My graphics card arrived. It works.
Let's see if that
You can
works.
complain about a
It's
PC
so
that's like
lovely.
7 years old or whatever. But anyway.
It works great.
It's totally a game of just jumping back in, and that's you bring up Dead Cells, right? And why I feel like I've struggled so much to find a roguelite since Rogue Legacy that I've loved that much, because I want that sense of progression and I want to feel stronger every time I come back.
Yeah.
And this seems 100%.
That sounds awesome, because Dead Cells
fun,
was the first one like that I've ever played, and I fucking fell in love with it. But it just hit a point where I'm like, I cannot put more. I think I played 18 plus hours of that game, and I'm like, I feel like I should have beat
18
it.
plus.
By
That's
that
a
point.
lot, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and there's just there's very little sense of progression. Like there's some overall like health stats and things that you have, but it's like I would have loved to be at least given the option of this weapon or that weapon.
Yeah, there's a ton of that stuff, a lot of different ways to play and get skilled at the way you use that stuff. There's crits on top of, there's all kinds of RPG mechanics. It's fantastic.
Greg.
Yeah.
Walking Dead, the final season,
Right.
episode 2.
Right.
What'd you think?
Episode 3 came out yesterday, at which point I was like, fuck, I never played episode 2. So I was like, I'm going to go home and play both of them, but I'm still very tired. So I only played one of them. So I played episode 2 to bring myself almost fully up to speed. So the last one from Telltale before they were like, peace everybody, and left. And then Skybound picked up and made the Still Not Bitten team. I don't know why I waited so long to play it. I think it was just weird because if you remember, that game's release was paired with all the bad news of Telltale. And so it was very much like talking every day on Games Daily about how worse and more dire the Telltale situation was. Didn't really psych me up to go home and play it. Jumping in last night, I'm glad I did. I wish I had started earlier so I could be 100% up to speed. Okay. Because episode 2 is great. It does another great job of driving home what this final season's all about, and that's not only, ending Clem's story right, but seeing what she's learned from Lee to now make AJ. And so there's actual tough decisions again of popping up of like, and if you're totally out of the loop, AJ's this kid, like a baby that Clem's been raising, and now he's like toddler. So he's talking and doing all sorts of stuff and making his own choices. He's probably 3, I'd say at least. And that may be being generous, but I don't know how kids are. But this kid's like fully a fully blown kid.
Where do they come from?
Walking around. Who knows? My mom still hasn't told me. And like there are some tough decisions in terms of that. It was cool for you and me, Tim, as big comic book fans. A couple really interesting ties to the comics that I had.
Really?
Yeah. The first time, and I'm not spoiling here, and I'm rusty too, but I think the first time that I've run into characters and threads in Clem's storyline that are directly tied to Rick's storyline, where it's like, oh, he's like I don't ruin things, but like a person referencing events that I know who I remember.
I'll talk to you.
I remember that event. Yeah,
but in season 1 though, right? We had Glenn.
Sure, and then we had Lily. But if you remember, they left. Then they went to Rick's storyline. I'm talking about people interacting with the larger work and coming back. Lily was the woman in season 1 who had the dad that was a racist. You killed the dad, or you didn't kill the dad, but he still got killed. And then she killed either Carly or Doug, and then you either left her or she stole the RV. Canonically, at least back in the day, her story was going to be then that she went and then she joins the governor's people. And when the governor, spoilers for Walking Dead comics, when the governor forces her to shoot Lori and Judith, then she kills the governor and she takes over the governor's people. And that was the last time we saw her in the comic.
Did that happen in the comics?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to go back and check that out.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound familiar at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, yeah.
I remember. I mean, I know they got shot. I don't remember someone taking the governor's place though.
Well, I mean, it was that she killed the governor and then she started giving orders to people. It wasn't like a very much like, I'm in charge. I don't think I'm in charge.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But remember, she shoots them and she tells the governor, like, you made me fucking kill a kid and a wife. And pushes him into the zoms. Walks.
So is this the last installment then? Is out now, or
we have one more episode? It's 4 episodes.
It's
4 episodes. Episode 3 just dropped. This is not what we're talking about. I did not play episode 3 yet. Even though this morning on our subreddit, one of the Kind of Funny best friends was like, "Fucking Greg, you got to play this." And I'm like, "I know." I fell behind. I was like, "How long is it?" Like, just as long as the other one's 3 hours. I'm like, I do not have 3 hours before Gamescast today, but I will get to it soon.
But is 3 the first one to come out of the Skybound?
Correct.
Hell.
This is the first time since. Yeah, exactly. This is the Still Not Bitten team that we talked about at the Kind of Funny Game Showcase. But yeah, and from what I hear, it's great because if Kind of Funny best friends tell me to play it and they liked it, they're Walking Dead fans, then we're in a good spot.
It's awesome.
So, but yeah, it's still that weird thing of like I started episode 2 last night, very much in that sense of just like they really should have stopped after season 1 with Clem's story, right? But now I'm like, no, I really want to see how we're gonna wrap this up and where we're gonna leave her and what the takeaway is going to be. And again, like they're just hitting the right notes for me in terms of pushing her ahead and giving her own story, but then also making callbacks to episode 1, let alone now, or I'm sorry, season 1, let alone now the bigger world. Yeah,
that's awesome. And then Y2K,
a post-apocalyptic, postmodern RPG, right? One of my most anticipated games. Got a code, and I have not been able to rub together 2 consecutive hours to play it all at once. So I'm playing in a very broken up fashion, which is, I think, the worst way to do this. I'm excited it's finally out. I still love the art style of the game. The problem I'm having right now, and this is not a definitive thing, next week on Gamescast, hopefully on the
You're about
flight.
to get on a plane
Exactly.
now.
I got to do some work for us, but then either out there or back, I hope to just sit down and put time into this thing. I'm finding it not hooking me the way I wanted it to, but it's still so early. Like if the story is, you just got back to your hometown, you're involved in all this. We've just gotten to the real, like, what the fuck is going on thing of like, what is going to motivate this? But what I'm finding early on is that it's all doing a lot of really cool, interesting things. I just don't feel so far as doing any of them extremely well. Like I like, I don't, we've talked about on this show, I have a preclusion for not enjoying turn-based RPGs, right? Like it's just, I don't really dig that kind of combat, but this one makes it more active where I select my attack and like for him, he throws LPs, he throws records, right? And so as you choose that attack, then the record starts spinning and there's an active, like you can multiply the combo if you don't screw it up and going through,
so it's like
right?
Mario RPG or Paper Mario type.
I didn't play. I played Paper Mario on Wii, but I don't remember that being.
I'm mostly just flashing to Shaun of the Dead at this point. Like
Exactly.
Throwing the Batman soundtrack at
totally.
zombies.
It was the first album I ever bought.
Stone Roses.
But even that's really cool, but it's not super engaging for me right now because it starts slow and gets harder. But it's still, basically, I have the game. I'm going to play more of it.
But you didn't get the chance because you have been playing Bury Me, My Love.
Oh, yeah, we played Bury Me, My Love and beat it. Yeah, that was another one that since the Kind of Funny Game showcase, they had shown that. I was like, this game looks awesome. This game seems like a Greg Miller game. I can't fucking wait to play this. Jared, you played it as well, I know?
Yep, yeah, and we've been playing it on different platforms. And I've been wanting to ask you about this, and you're like, save it for the show, Jared.
Yeah.
I'm playing on mobile.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I didn't really understand about the game before I first played it on mobile was that it's notification based. So on mobile, you play it and there's a conversation, and then Nora disappears for a while. It's like, okay, offline. And then it might be 5 minutes later, it might be a day later, I'll get a notification on my phone and I open my conversation back up. And so I found myself in situations where like she's making a very dangerous decision.
Yeah.
And then
Is there any way to force it?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
But you have the option to play this way.
That is
so
freaking cool.
It's
Yeah.
amazing
neat.
because like I'll ask her to, I'll give her advice, and she doesn't always do what I say,
Yeah.
but I'll give her advice. Something dangerous will happen, and she'll just vanish.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I'm ever going to hear from her again. And it is like heartrending. That game rocks in that mode. Does Switch duplicate that experience?
That is so awesome what you just said and everything. No, it does not duplicate that, and it is so fucking boring on Switch. Because you play it and you're totally in the moment of just like, I'm not even playing this game. Like I hit A and then stuff, it just goes. Hit A, goes. I don't feel like there's choices and there's things to say, but there's plenty of times where there isn't for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I thought I had already hyped this game in my head to be another a normal Lost Phone, which, a mobile game I played and loved so fucking much. And it does not deliver that experience. And maybe it's just a Switch thing.
I think it may be.
If I am actually kind of, here's the best way to put it. It ended, I thought it went on way too long. It ended and it was like credits and Jen's just like, I would never play this game again. And she would not, I would never play this game again because I would never play this game because it just took forever and it didn't really pay off in the end. There's no chapters like da. I'll play it as that way.
Yeah,
I'll play it that way. Where
I'm playing
I
it in
forget about
2-minute bursts, maybe once or twice a day at the most.
Interesting.
And that has
really,
been
really cool.
How long have you been playing it?
riveting. Quite a while now.
Yeah, because
Gosh.
I was going to say, that's my thing about it is like, the game is dense.
Yeah.
It goes on a
And
long time.
Not only is it dense, but there's multiple endings
Yeah.
and multiple paths that I've been coordinating. Well, not coordinating, but I've been texting back and forth with a real world friend who's also playing it the same way.
Yeah.
And we're getting vastly different outcomes to certain things. So
yeah, and that was my problem with it is I felt like it wasn't active enough in the way that, again, normal Lost Phone had me doing all sorts of stuff and cracking codes and using calculator things that look like calculators, but they're actually passcodes to unlock and doing all of this different stuff. Whereas, Bury Me, My Love is very much like A, and sometimes you don't even hit A and it'll still go because it's just, you're not to a choice. It's just, here's a pre-scripted response of what you're going to say.
Yeah, the way the game was originally designed for mobile, those moments happen, like I said, in very small bursts.
Yeah.
And then there's long waits. And I wonder, I really do sometimes, like, is she ever going to write back?
That is such an interesting thing because that was one of I did not get why the game loads the way it loads.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing on Switch, it is like, cool, send the thing, and then it'll fade to black or whatever it is, fade out and fade back in, and then it's gone ahead 5 minutes. And I'm like, why the fuck are you doing this? Every other conversation I'm clicking through and you do it. Usually the fade out means it's going to be multiple hours. That makes so much more sense of like, I would do it and then 5 minutes later.
I think this may be a casualty of port everything to Switch. It's become apparent through a lot of news stories now that the most lucrative space, generally speaking, in independent gaming is becoming the Switch for certain kinds of games. I mean, yes, there are mobile games that thrive on loot box models that are always going to do better on iPhone and stuff like that. But by and large, it seems Switch is the place you go if you want to make money, even more than Steam now. It may just be a case of they figured this was the place that they could sustain the game, and so they put it on Switch, but it's not designed for the platform. And is just a superior mobile experience. I can't recommend the game enough as a mobile game.
Yeah.
But what you're describing sounds terrible.
Yeah, because it's just a slog. It's just a slog of sitting there and having text nonstop that, again, that if I'm hitting A sometimes in advance it quicker, and then if I don't, as the husband, my response just pops up. Not that I missed a choice, because most of the time there isn't a choice.
Yeah.
Then you get to points where it is like, I should say most time. Lots of times there isn't a choice. Then you get to what emoji do you want to use? And it's like, all right,
Here's the highest praise I can give the game. I'll get a buzz notification on my phone after I've made a hard decision, maybe a day later.
Yeah.
And before I've got it face down, and instead of thinking, oh, I hope that's Angie, or oh, I hope that's Greg, it'll be like, oh, I hope that's Nor. Like to check and make sure she's okay.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it right now.
Then, okay, Jared, you want to talk about a game called Ding Dong XL?
I want to talk about Ding Dong XL a lot.
Wow.
What the fuck is Ding Dong XL?
Ding Dong XL from the makers of Bing Bong XL. So I made the terrible mistake of visiting IGN the other day to see a few of my friends over there. IGN, that organization that famously
I was going to say, you
fired
went
all
back
of
there
us.
after you got fired.
Yeah,
Thrown out.
after we were all fired from IGN. I went back over there and they had a computer set up, and Damon, Justin, and Sam, the Omega Cops of GameScoop, were playing Ding Dong XL, a game I'd never seen before. Ding Dong is a one-button video game. And I have kind of an obsession with 1 and 2 button video games. It's a very simple premise. Ooh. Every time you press the button, you cross the track. You're trying to cross the street, Frogger style, freeway style, and you're just trying to stay alive. The game gets faster and faster. If you wait, every second you wait, you see the balls growing.
Oh.
Okay? So it gets harder and harder to cross if you wait, and eventually you just pop like a balloon. Every time you hit the other side, you reset. Power-ups pass through the middle, like that one right there, and make things easier for you. If you get good at it, it's possible to develop a tremendous degree of mastery on this game. It's really, really finely tuned and way, way better than what I think we sometimes think of as a novelty game because it's one button.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought went into this
that
design.
looks cool.
The creator of
That's
this
really
game,
cool.
Really
That looks
awesome.
it's really well
Can't
done.
wait for it to be on Switch.
I am now
Yeah,
currently the number 10 globally ranked Ding Dong XL player on Steam.
You're number one Ding Dong in my heart, Jared.
I am the number
Number
10.
one-
I'm the
10?
number 10 Ding Dong player. Again, I don't know what the pool is, but the game's like $1. I think it was 50 cents for a while, and I think it's $1 now. And it's totally fun. It's also on mobile. It's totally worth your time.
It's on mobile?
Really, yeah, and it also it has a kind of a techno soundtrack that just kind of keeps. It's
I'm getting
got
it right
that.
now.
I'm gonna buy it too.
I'm getting Ding Dong,
And it's
dude.
got that one
Ding dong,
more.
bitch!
It's got that one more play thing, like because it resets immediately. So it's just like bump, bump, bump. I died. Oh, one more time, and you just keep and it reloads immediately.
I got a couple questions for you, Jared. One, what's Bing Bong? Two, why is it XL? Was there just a Ding Dong?
He likes to put XL at the end of his games.
Okay.
The designer, I forget his
Adam
name. I should
Nickerson.
have. Thank you. Most of his games end in XL. That's just a thing he does. And he made a little shooter that I actually have played around with that I really enjoy. Bing Bong XL is a whole other concept. You can take a look at that on Steam as well. But this little single button game. The other thing I like about it, and I know I talk about these games I never make because I'm full of it. But the design for you asked me once what my game was about, which was Two Frogs Kissing.
Yeah.
Ding Dong XL is not all that different than a prototype I put together for that. It is a different game, but this reminded me a lot of that. Mine was a 2-button game that does some different things, but this also reminded me of, it was kind of a convergent, evolution of thought thing, going back to that freeway Frogger thing. It's a lot of fun. Go play
You just
this
sold
game.
4 copies of this game.
I hope we sell a lot of copies. Everybody should play this. It's
Everybody
fun.
tweet your ding dong photos to Jared.
That's right.
Tweet a photo of your ding dong.
217 points. Beat it if you can.
Can I see what it sounds like?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on, let's see.
Oh, gotta hope it's
Sam, isn't it?
ding dong, ding dong. Oh fuck, it's got a jam too.
Okay.
Wow, that is.
And now
Damn, Jared
Is it-
bringing
wait, is it always
Game of the
that
Year
intense?
2019 to the
Dong
table.
it's really good.
I love that.
And again, I want to thank the GameScoop guys because they're the ones that showed me that.
That's
Mega
awesome.
Cops.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And then next game, Dusk.
Okay, so this came out of the discussion we had last week where I enraged our co-hosts by suggesting that perhaps we had a little too narrow a focus in mainstream first-person shooter game design.
It's not what you said, bro.
And that's totally what I said.
He hates it.
So
Go back and
Andrea
watch.
brought up Dusk, which was an excellent point. Dusk, I do not regard as a mainstream shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but I did want to go and really give it kind of a dive in. Dusk's a lot of fun. Have any of you played it?
No.
This is not Fortnite.com.
What's that?
This is the one that's not Fortnite.com, right?
I assume. I don't
Dave
know.
Orshu's game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
You didn't know that? Yeah, the URL for the game is not
I didn't know
Fortnite.com,
that.
which
Okay,
is
that's
such a
hilarious.
brilliant fucking thing.
That's
Probably
kind
not
of
legal, but
amazing.
whatever.
Yeah, so it's
great.
obviously a single / multiplayer oriented, very Quake 1 inspired shooter. And
Little frag and tag.
Yeah, but little frag and tag, but also with that like story mode to it that you expected from early Quake 1, Quake 2. where you had this really well thought out, level design that was kind of John Romero inspired, the kind of stuff that went into Doom, and kind of just around the time he left the company, became a part of Quake. I really like it. It's not just a gimmick. I thought that this was maybe just some kind of gimmick game that's like, it looks and feels like something you remember, and that makes it cool. This is a ridiculously well-designed video game. It is not a Quake rehash. There are certain muscle memory things that feel similar, but it's definitely informed in some very intelligent ways by contemporary game design as well. It's a little more exploratory in different ways. It uses light and shadow in ways that wouldn't have been possible on older systems, particularly the flashlight stuff and the way it handles secrets and things like that. Enemy behavior is it's a little more spooky than Quake was. Things sneak up on you. It's a little more successful in its monster closet approach because it's got some scary sounds that, again, would have been hard to pull off. It's real good, and it's not just like, here's something different for shooters. Here's something that's really engaging that I think just about anybody that enjoys FPSs could have a really good time with.
That's me.
Have any of it? Nobody's played it, right?
Check it out. No.
Yeah, I really
Flew on my radar.
I can't recommend it enough. You'll start out and be like, this is a Jared game. Play it for an hour, and I think you'll really get pulled in. It's rad, and the secrets, so many secrets. And I love secrets and shooters, and I feel like that's kind of a thing that's been left behind. It feels very open. It feels very. You got a lot of agency in what you're doing in it. It's just rad. I mean, it's no Ding Dong XL, but what is?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
What is
Excuse
Ding Dong
me,
XL?
Tim? I saw you communicating with Kevin. Kevin, pull it back up. You're going to tell me there's a Ding Dong XL VR?
There
A
is.
Ding Dong
No
VR?
way.
Yeah.
Same
What?
game?
What?
Put PlayStation VR on it.
Pull that. Yeah, I want to see that, Kev.
This one?
Yeah,
Play that
yeah.
trailer. Yeah.
Because I had a
That
question
one
for
doesn't say
Jared too.
PSVR though, but
When you're trying to make it across, do you just need to dodge the shapes or those like yellow exploding things?
No, you just have to
Okay.
dodge the
it's
shapes.
just a particle.
Oh, okay. Cool,
Those
cool,
are just particles.
Is
Yeah.
it angle like this in the main game too?
No, it does not.
No, this is the VR world.
That would mess me up. So if you tilt your head, see now you're like,
Yeah.
It's someone in the chat is saying it's the VR is so this is PS Wii.
Oh.
It says the VR
What?
version is $3 on Steam.
Yeah.
so there is PSVR.
No. There's a person in our chat named PSWE.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. That was
So, and you notice that,
definitely
by the way, you
confusing.
see him hitting the blocks and the blocks exploding. If you're good enough, you can just barely clip a block, and then
fuck
instead of it
'em up?
killing you, you blow it up and get extra points.
Yes.
So it's
That looks fun.
That
some
looks
of us
great.
are good
It's
enough
more
to
of
do
a
that.
phone game for me. I like the look of it. Looks more like a phone
That
game.
looks like a great
Play it
phone
on the
game.
go. Like in bed, on the go.
Hell
Awesome.
yeah, man.
Tappy, tappy.
Let's go.
That's right.
This episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Movement. Movement watches start at just $95. You're looking at $400 to $500 at the same quality from traditional brands. A clean design, minimal, and really quality products. Here's the thing. We've been loving Movement here for a very long time. Gia, always wearing her watch. Definitely loving the sunglasses. I just took a trip to Mexico. I was in Cabo. I was on a boat. And guess what sunglasses I was wearing? Movement sunglasses. Did I look good, Kev? Thank you very much from that. You can get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to mvmt.com/kinda. Movement's launching new styles on their site all the time. Go check them out. Check out their latest at mvmt.com. Go to mvmt.com/kinda. Join the movement today. And again, they got watches, they got sunglasses, they got bracelets, they got all types of stuff. And we're big fans. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by the University of Advancing Technology. If you're interested in robotics, VR, video games, all that stuff, and I have a feeling a lot of you guys out there are, you might want to look into this. Did you know that you can turn your passion for gaming into a career? These guys know. These guys know.
I do know that.
At any moment growing up, well, I already know your answer, but for you two fine gentlemen,
Yeah.
growing up, did you ever think, I'm going to make a video game? Or I'm going to make video games?
No.
That crossed my mind, but not seriously.
When I was a dumb
wanted
kid,
to.
I was like, I'm definitely going to do this. And then I grew up and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But maybe in another world, I could have done this.
Yeah.
The University of Advancing Technology. Graduate at the speed of tech. It's pretty fast, I hear. Earn a bachelor's degree in less than 3 years. Start learning tech from day one. Students begin their program program major courses from the semester until they graduate. That's fantastic. I had a whole bad experience in my college where I'm like, I'm wasting so much time doing stuff that I don't need. I don't need this at all. I'm here to learn video production. Why am I not doing video production? This sounds fantastic, man. Online or on campus, UAT offers a range of technology degrees for both bachelor and master programs. University of Advancing Technology is a university in Tempe, Arizona. Founded in 1983, UAT integrates technology into its general education requirements. The institution offers core classes as well as deep sets of courses in each major. Learn more about the programs available at University of Advancing Technology at uat.edu. That's uat.edu. Fran, what was your little victory dance for? Oh, Tempe.
Largely known fact, great party town as well.
Okay,
so I want to not do it online and go.
Yeah.
And they have it at Portillo's.
Man.
Oh, they do.
Win,
Wow.
win. And next up, shout out to 4Hims for sponsoring this episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Nick and Andy have both been using this for a very long time. Both have been very happy with it. We've talked about Andy getting the gummies. You guys are very familiar with this.
Nick stealing the gummies.
Nick stealing the gummies has been this whole thing. I told the story of one of my good friends last year was talking to me about like he felt like he was going bald and was having an issue with it, but like wanted to confront it. And he's like, oh, I heard you guys talking about this thing. I told him about it. He's been using it for a long time now, and he's seeing results. He's having a great time with it. So you listeners can get a trial month of Hims for just $5 right now while supplies last. You can see the website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. You can go to forhims.com/kinda. That's FORHIMS.com/kinda. They make it super easy. You can do all the stuff. They get you doctors to all the medical stuff is cleared and stuff, and then figure out if it's right for you. Once again, that's FORHIMS.com/kinda. Oh, Kevin. You are such a special human being. Now it's time to get to the topic of the show.
Before you do, I want to give a shout out here to, of course, Ding Dong XL. Its creator, Adam, right? And his studio is Nickervision Studios, right?
Creator's Adam, though?
Yeah, the guy. I think it's a one-man team. It's Adam Nickerson.
Oh, it's last name's Nickerson. See, I thought it would have been a Nick.
Right?
Yeah.
Not an Adam.
No. But what's his tagline in this thing? I'm learning to make games by making games.
Yeah.
I love
And then it's
that.
all these different
Yes.
games he's made, including a very basic looking one that I was looking at while you're talking, Fallopian Frenzy. He's made all of it.
Fall, like falling, apparently, right? It's not like fallopian isn't spelled. It's fallopian.
Yeah, but they're
brilliant play on words.
You're definitely go get him. I tweeted at him. Let's get this shit on Switch and VR. Let's do PlayStation
Let's
VR.
go,
Real
dude.
VR.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I can't
Not
say enough
baby
things
VR.
about Ding Dong XL. It's a really good video game.
Topic of the show time. Last week, or I don't remember where it was. I think it might have been last week. We're talking about the future of video games. We're talking about the next generation of video games. We put the date of
Always talking about
2021. But I wanted us to all give some predictions for where video games will be.
All right.
I think a lot of this came from the Bungie conversation.
You got to do the full
Yeah,
thing.
that's true.
Bungie
That's true.
conversation.
What's up?
Tim doesn't even know it. Come on.
No. What is it?
Conan O'Brien back in the day, leading up to 2000. You would have been 4
Look it
years
up.
old.
Yeah.
You would have had
YouTube, in the year
blocks.
2000, Conan O'Brien. Sorry. It's good.
It was on Games Daily. Bungie,
Yeah.
now single and ready to mingle.
They've got their Tinder profile made.
So we were kind of going into predictions of like who could they link up with? Are they going to stay independent? What's going on there? And I was like, this is kind of fun. So now we're going to do it. Let's do the predictions. I'm going to start off.
Yeah.
All right.
With one.
You should, because as we know,
I
won't understand unless you go first.
Yeah, no, you understood this time.
Last week,
you understood
I
the
fudged
rules.
up. It was still fun.
You missed it, Greg. Fran Mirabella.
I did it.
Pulling the most Fran Mirabella-ass thing of all time. I tell him, like,
Last
what are
week
your
was-
most controversial video game opinions? And one of his was the Mortal Kombat blood situation of the 90s.
Because I thought he was saying what were the
And the
biggest
history
video game
of games, what were the
controversies of all
controversies?
time,
That's
and he
great,
wanted us
Fran.
to manufacture
You're
or
a
just
Georgia
have
peach.
a crazy opinion, like Jared said that Halo ruined shooters. Basically,
I did not
Paraphrasing.
You have to
say
watch
that.
the
Watch
episode
last
for the
week's
full
episode.
context.
That's what the thumbnail said.
The Switch
Saucy.
will have at least 2 revisions leading to it selling more units than the Xbox One and 3DS and PS3 and 360, but not the Wii, which is at 100 million. So it will sell between
that's
90
good.
and 100 million.
By
You
21.
said
2021.
2 more iterations by then? Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
I
I
actually
go
think
with
that's a-
1, but 2 is a lot.
I think it's going to
by
be
then.
2 because I
And-
think we're
yeah,
going
all
to
the way
get
till the end of the year.
We're going to get the baby version. We're going to get one that's for the little brother or sister that's trying to play
Switch
Pokemon.
baby, switch baby, baby. No, I can't do
I like
that
it
one
though.
as
That
well.
was good. But then, have you heard about this Baby Shark thing? Greg?
Yeah, I heard. I remember
a whole
hearing
nother-
Shark
months
Baby.
ago
Yeah.
Barrett's
Yeah.
girlfriend talk about it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, whatever.
We'll sing
And
it at
now,
the
then
end of
all of
the
a
show.
sudden, boom! It was everywhere. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck just happened?
I don't like. By the way, I want to go on record right now and right here as saying that this current popularized Baby Shark that's completely,
a shark baby.
absolutely neutered. All right, where there is no verse about the shark eating a swimmer, which is the key to the entire Baby Shark song originally, which goes Baby Shark doot
That's the
doot,
uncensored
doot,
version.
doot swimmer doot 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 yum
That's
yum doot,
terrifying,
doot,
though,
doot,
for
doot,
kids.
happy shark doot doot. Okay, that's all about eating the swimmer. They took that out of the shark or out of this, and I'm
Humans
just
suck, man. I
can't-
get it.
I can't. can't
I'm
stand
Team
it.
Shark.
Team Shark.
Team Shark.
Absolutely.
Let's all chill out.
Put your cookies in my mouth.
I put the cookies in them. Man.
All right. But yeah, no, I think there's going to be a 2DS style revision, but I also think there'll be a 3DS XL style revision at some point.
Oh yeah, we love the Excel.
Yeah, I want that. I
Wait,
want that.
when you say
shit.
3DS XL, are you talking like with improved hardware?
I'm thinking a similar type of jump between like what we've seen with PS4 to PS4 Pro type thing, where it might, but on handheld scale. So actually, probably more similar to the XL situation. But I do think there will be a hardware jump where I think the games will run like they do docked.
Okay, I don't think so. I'm very close to you on most of this. I think your sales figures are almost perfect. Absolutely think it'll be under the Wii over those others. I think that hardware revisions of some kind are definitely coming. I don't see Nintendo, and this is actually one of mine. I don't see Switch releasing a PS Pro Switch. I don't think
they
they do
have
it.
to.
I don't think they do it.
Got to do it.
Why?
They got to do it
Why do they have to do it?
Money, dude.
because yeah, this thing. It's like why not?
Because Nintendo has generally profited on the lower end of price on the market throughout its history. They've learned to make hardware that's profitable at lower production costs, and that is their MO, their bread and butter for their entire history, including this generation.
My argument for that is I think that they're still going to have that with what I'm saying, the baby version. But I feel like the Switch has brought so many people back to Nintendo that are now addicted to playing the Switch, and they're going to want more options. And they know that there's people like us that will get the XL version, and they know that there's a lot of other people that are going to get the other one, and I think it's just going to maximize.
They might know there are people like us that'll get the XL version, but I don't think they're going to get the development support to make it happen. I don't think they want to fragment their market that way. It is a huge
But it
deal.
won't fragment the market. The games are they're already being made like that because it can play on the dock.
To a point. But you can't produce a game. Okay, now we get in a fun space. Lowest possible. We ran into this a long time ago. This first started showing up in the 80s when people would talk about doing iterative jumps like the C64 to C128 or the C16 platform. There's some other places this happens.
Commodore.
Where you end up developing your software for the lowest end of the spectrum. And that even when you provide more power for a similar piece of hardware, for a hardware iteration, people are still generally targeting the lowest end of that. Therefore, it's actually an enormous amount of pressure, particularly on third-party developers. First-party, it's much easier to pull off, but for a third-party dependent platform like the Switch, which is well known for being Nintendo's first successful third-party platform since Wii, you end up having all the games made for the lowest common denominator anyway, and there actually proves to be very little value for the high-end hardware. You usually have 2, 3, 4 breakout games, but it's going to be really hard to sell Nintendo's $20 to $30 game developers, largely independent or small studio, that are the backbone of their business right now on that. I don't
But it's already
think
there.
there's
Every single game on the Switch right now is already doing
can
that.
run better on a dock, but that's not what they're targeting.
But it's 10. So a game that's 1080p on the dock
Yeah.
is 720 right here.
Right.
I'm saying the XL version is going to be 1080.
Why would
it's
anybody
no
want a
different than
1080
today.
handheld over a 720 handheld? Would you pay that
it's
much
better.
more?
Might leave
I
your
would.
screen. People
Yeah,
I would. I totally, absolutely would.
I don't see
It would have a
It's
better
happening.
battery as
the
well.
battery, yeah, the battery I think is
have
much
to.
more likely.
I mean, it would
And the
have
battery
to.
is a huge part of the price. And again, that ups the cost. Nintendo looks at that on one end and goes, yes, we can produce this and sell it to a small number of people, or we can put those same resources into, let's say, making another game that's going to make us a lot more money. What's they going to do?
They're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if it is just like if you take today's model and it was like it's just running like that, but on the go, I mean, it is already there. It's not the full up-res plan and all that, which is very different.
But people aren't writing their games for the dock now, and I don't think it's going to change.
Oh, you're saying they're skipping on that part of it now?
I'm saying that people are targeting the handheld mode and the dock's a bonus.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because we're talking about 1080. We're not talking about 4K. It's like even if they're making it for the handheld mode, which is not true because like even the third-party games, they're obviously like if you played Wolfenstein, they're definitely making it for the dock.
But how are you playing Wolfenstein, for the dock or in your hands?
I want to play it in my hands, but it doesn't run that well. But if I had 1080p support where it ran better, I would.
I think Nintendo just waits for a Switch 2 on that, and I think 2021's too soon for that.
Yeah, tough call. 2 of them sounds like a lot, but interesting.
It's gonna happen. Jared.
By December 31st, 2021,
Really coming in.
Half-Life 3 has been officially announced.
He's so good at this. It's
not gonna happen.
That's crazy.
What?
I just think it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, why not? Why not do it now? This is a pretty good time for them to move into it. It's obviously been on and off in development for a very long time. They keep going back to the idea. We're in a period right now where Valve would maybe like to reap a little goodwill. And what better way for Valve to reemphasize the primacy of the Steam store than by elevating their number one property of all time, something their fans have asked for forever. What better marketing can they do than sell you marketing?
Yeah.
And that's what Half-Life 3 would be. We are selling you goodwill. We are making something you want. We know that you will buy it. We will make money on making news about ourselves. Why the hell not do it?
That's very, very interesting. I don't see him doing it only because that seems like a reactionary thing to what's happening now with the Epic Store and stuff, where I don't think they saw that coming. And I don't think that they can, quote unquote, waste Half-Life 3 like that.
I think there are plenty of people in that company that want to make that game anyway, that this may be what tips it over the top. I do not think this would be the only reason they would make the game. I think this might be the leverage that somebody could walk into a room with and say, all right, guys, we've been talking about this for years. We've got the resources. We've got the script. We're happy with the story. We've got the tech. Let's make it now.
So you're saying announced by the end of 2021?
Yeah.
When would it release?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
see,
not gonna.
that's
2031.
I think it would release fairly soon after announcement. I don't think they'd wait too long.
if that's true, it's not gonna be a good game.
I think it'd be a year or two probably from announcement. Probably 2023 would be my guess. Was a 2021 announcement.
Wow, bold. I like.
I could be completely wrong.
It.
I mean, it's the future. I'm not a prognosticator.
Fran, you are a prognosticator.
You are, Frank.
Give me one.
I realize you guys are way better at this than me. They're so specific. I'm like Mr. Broad Strokes. So
That's cool. Frank, it's like video games are cool.
dial what? No. I'm always
Video
thinking
games
like,
will remain,
I'm always
in
like
fact,
broad
cool.
industry, but we talked about this one, the subscription train to participating in a subscription of some kind. It's already starting, but I think it is going to be more of a staple. I mean, I think it only represents a 10 or a 12% kind of stake in the industry for some publishers, meaning their total sales. But buying, for example, you spend $100 on EA Origin or something, you get like all the games. Actually, you get more value out of it as long as you pony up front. So I think that by 2021 is just a trend that is not going anywhere. And in fact, I think we're going to see some people, it becomes a staple. Whether, Nintendo gets more into that game. Again, this is beyond just like a live service. Like, sign up, you get these 2 free games, and you're part of our subscription. And it's like pledging your support to a major publisher or company. So I think I didn't have a specific example of what one of those would be, but I think we're going to see a ton of that. But I also think on top of it, the repercussions of the Battle Pass and what it has been able to accomplish, that is where I don't know where and what franchise is going to do it. I don't want to say Destiny, but I think it's the right model. That for the $9 Battle Pass model, you now will just get a game like that. A premium game will exist by 2021, or is announced at least, that will have that model, which is roughly 4 times a year you pay. I think it's $8 or $9 to participate. But it's we just read today, I think it was, that Fortnite has amassed. It was an insane billion dollar amount. It amassed more than any other game in sales, and it was in large part to a huge number of gamers just buying the Battle Pass.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a big part of it. I don't know if you guys think any property.
So
would go down that route.
jumping off of that, one of my predictions was there'll be a huge focus, obviously, on services, like service-based features, but they're going to be streamlined. I think that by 2021, we'll hit a point where Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo will all have one subscription each that gets you online, gets you the games, gets you everything. So Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live will be together. PlayStation Now and PlayStation Online will be together. Nintendo is already doing that. It's just, I feel like Nintendo's like the snail that's just like,
of course,
that has it now, but they're inching towards. But by 2021, I think that we'll have the GameCube games and like the virtual console library that everybody wanted 2 years ago.
You think only one version of this option though?
Per system, I think so.
Do you think that it would include, like, there's a big thing with EA's package as an example. I was surprised at, like, I mean, you get Anthem, you get Battlefront, you get Battlefield. I think you get all that for the $100 a year or whatever. Do you think it would include premium stuff like that? Or you're saying...
I think Xbox Game Pass is a very good model of what that is, where it'll be first and second party titles that come with it, but then every once in a while there'll be exclusive third party deals that
and that's a good point. Games Pass is that today. I mean, it is it 5 or 10 a month? They've had
right
so
now
many
it's
sales.
1 a month.
Well, yeah,
right?
They had a sale for $1 a month at the first month, which is an amazing deal. But you get Sea of Thieves, it's like all these other games on there as long as you subscribe. And that is, of course, because the research that people do, the people who are subscribers are more engaged users who end up buying all these other things, microtransactions and all. So it nets out. So the industry's going that way. But that's why I think, I see we're mostly in agreement, but I think one option is not enough. I think you need the Battle Pass because the parent only wants to spend that quarter, the $9 or whatever.
Sorry, to be clear, I'm not talking about DLC. I'm not talking about microtransactions. I'm not talking about Battle Pass. I'm talking about the online service and their streaming game service will be one and the same.
Oh,
so
you're
like
saying
right now,
specifically
Xbox Live and Xbox Games Pass, that's two different
They'll just
services.
include it in
It'll
one.
just be one thing. And
that's
PlayStation
a
now,
great-
PlayStation whatever.
That's an astute observation.
I think we're moving there.
Okay. But that's like a package of games that are available during that time period for streaming, etc. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Look at this guy over here biding his time.
Just listen to the good conversation, Jared.
Go for it, Greg Miller. You prognosticated.
And it's such a broad question. And
Right?
2021 sounds so far away, but in reality is still so in the year 2021. I will start with this. That this is not a positive one. This is so far most of these have been happy-go-lucky predictions.
Where are you going with this?
A robot has come to life and has chased humanity.
Ding Dong XL has taken over the world.
That's right.
Jesus.
This is not a positive one. However, it is not me wishing ill on anyone. But it's a prediction thing.
He's scared.
I want to swing for the fences, right? I think by 2021 or in 2021, Gearbox is either out of business or is no longer independent and is so wholly owned by somebody. Right, yeah. And I think this is why it's on the tip of my tongue, obviously, as of recording. This is the week where Monday started with the Games Daily reacting to the lawsuit between Randy and the lawyer and the bickering back and forth. And then today there was more follow-up after Games Daily. I don't know if you saw this, that Ars Technica got the guy's report, the lawyer who filed it, and he's claiming religious discrimination in there too. That people, and it's just like...
It's all-out warfare now.
To be clear, this very much seems like a very personal fight that's being that has been dragged into a court of law. I have nothing to do with that. Let's even divorce yourself from that and throw that out. It's just sitting there and thinking about Gearbox. What has Gearbox done recently that has been a huge success and has been well received?
Greg, when it comes to that, looking at what's happening right now, I anticipated wholeheartedly that sometime within the next 12 to 18 months, before all this happened, that Gearbox would effectively be a Microsoft second-party studio.
Yeah.
I had no idea if that was going to happen or not, but that was something I thought might.
Yeah.
With all this news out there now, do you think anybody wants to touch them?
One of my predictions,
You gotta wait
Microsoft
now,
100% is going to get Gearbox, and they're just going to put somebody else at top.
That
And
was part of my
Borderlands
thing.
is ours, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's my thing as well as part of this, right? And again, it's muddy because of everything happening right now in the court of law.
Yeah.
It is the fact that, whether they're around or not, I don't think Randy's there. And that makes sense, obviously, because if they're closed, they're not there. And if they sold it, he's a founder. He wouldn't be there either, right? I feel like that's... If Gearbox was publicly traded, right, and it had the traditional board we always talk about, right?
Yeah.
They just wants monies and dollars and cents and stuff. I think, right, they probably would have bounced Randy by now, who for every interaction I've ever had with the guy, totally nice, right? And like great. But I mean, like again, let's look at the games they've put out, right? You start talking about Colonial Marines, you start talking about Battleborn, you start talking about Duke Nukem. We Happy Few was one of the things they just published, right? Which didn't move the needle. Like, I like when we get down to business decisions, that 1v1 game, right? Like everybody talks about Gearbox, and when we talk about Gearbox, if we're not being negative, we're talking about Borderlands.
Yeah.
And so then it just becomes, is Borderlands now just the Hail Mary? Also, again, they're a privately traded private company, right?
Yeah.
Is Borderlands such a huge success? And it was. It was a movement, and I fucking love those games. Enjoyed the pre-sequel so much. Enjoyed the Handsome Collection, yada, yada, yada. Did that just generate enough income that they have just a Scrooge McDuck vault that they don't need to worry about anything?
I imagine they did, and I imagine that Microsoft is looking at all this and is like, Borderlands is the type of game that if they put out a game that wasn't called Borderlands 3, there was kind of like a Borderlands reboot on the next Xbox system, or backwards compatible, however you want to play it. Like, I think that'd be a huge win for them, and like that adds up with how Microsoft's been building out their portfolio. Of
the only
studios.
thing you get into, right, is just then like 2K's involved with Borderlands, right? And what's the agreement there in terms of who owns publishing rights to Borderlands, right? And like what's going on with that, and how, where, and like why? I mean, we've heard about Borderlands 3 every so often in passing, things.
A new Gearbox shooter, Landerboards.
And even then, but I mean, like even then, like that doesn't strike me as a good investment for Microsoft, right? Where it is like cool, but. I mean, think about like and I don't mean to, I'm not trying to insult anyone there, but it feels like Borderlands 2 was the breakout success, right? And the brain trust that made Borderlands 2, when you talk about Anthony Birch and, damn it, the name just escaped me. But the people who you think about when you think about who we got, they're not there anymore.
So are you thinking that the property has way more value than the company at this point?
Yeah. I think so, and I think
it always did, kind of.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and that's not. You hope as a creator your products are more successful than you in terms of like mind share and shit like that. But yeah, that's just what is going on with Borderlands 3. Is it going to come out and be the Hail Mary, boom, foot in this, we nailed it, we fucking crushed it, or is it going to be like we see with a lot of games when they come out after a long time we've been waiting and they've been gestating and it gets here and it's like boom, wow, this is a game that feels 2 years ago, that hasn't, there's been so many different things when you look at a game like Destiny 2, right? And the way it's iterated and evolved and changed to get to where it is, like even Division 2 on the cycle it's been. Like think about all the shooters that have come out since Borderlands 2, right? And like sequels to those shooters that have come out since Borderlands 2. Like where are they? Are they getting into, is that game in a way the same breath like we talked about with Fallout, where it was like Fallout 4 came out and was a good Fallout, however you want to say it, but like got outclassed by The Witcher. The Witcher came out and was like, oh, you want an open world RPG that looks beautiful and runs great and doesn't crash and Fallout's like, fuck, we got the fucking baseball stadium. You know what I mean? Like, is that what we're dealing with here? Or is, like I said, since it's a brand new thing, maybe it's been restarted and returned over so many times that they're into something they really love and they really trust. But you look at Gearbox and Gearbox Publishing, it's just like, what is, and again, to the point of the Scrooge McDuck vault, they're in Plano, Texas. Everything costs nothing there. I'm sure it's not, you know what I mean? There's a million different things happening.
Yeah.
But what does it all look to? And what, I don't know. And we're talking about like into the future. I look at them and we've seen so many studios change hands, close, stop being independent. They just strike me as one of those. They've held out forever and done great stuff for years and years and years. Or what? I was looking at their Wikipedia. I think it's 19 years in business or whatever. Yeah, 19 years old. They're 19 years old. They were founded February 1999. Like that is rare in this day and age, a video game developer / publisher that is out there.
Then maybe what you do is create like a that pseudo independence that you have from things like Intelligent Systems or HAL or even Game Freak, where you have a very close relationship there, but you have that second party semblance of independence while at the same time being an exclusive provider for Xbox. That makes sense to me.
But then it just gets into that, like, what are you buying though if you're Xbox and you can't have Borderlands?
Yeah.
I think you have to.
Exactly, it would have to be. You're right.
I think
That's
Borderlands has to come with that. That just has to.
My next one, despite everything that we've been talking about, PlayStation 5 will have a demonstrably better first-party catalog than the next Xbox.
By 2021.
In 2021?
Mm-hmm.
Are you counting? Are you counting?
And even like I'm going beyond
remasters and its
I'm talking
compatibility?
even this next gen.
I think in 2021 you're correct. I think in 2022 it's much more up for grabs. But I think in 2021 Sony probably has more in development ready to pull out and shoot with in the launch window era than Microsoft does. And we are talking, if we launch in fall of 2020 like a lot of people are expecting, then a year later, there's still not all that much software from either party.
No, you're right. And then to be fair, that prediction, the whole thing it was vague. I only said 2021 because I was trying to be like, okay, we do have the next systems. That prediction I'm saying is going to be over the whole next life cycle
okay.
of the systems.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Expound.
I just think that they're going to continue. Sony's going to continue the dominance by itself of putting out quantity and quality of first party titles. I think there'll be at least 3 a year. The first year might be the one warm up thing where they will focus on the third party titles a lot to start selling the system. But then after that, every year is going to have 3 super high quality games that you can only play on PlayStation 5 or Sony's next system or whatever it is. Whereas Xbox, I think, is going to still maybe have 1 or 2 in that same time period every year. And I still think that those are going to be more questionably loved than the PlayStation side.
Fascinating.
One of my predictions is I think in 2021, Xbox is the toast of the town.
Really?
I think that
it's gonna flip.
I think, and I don't mean like maybe. I think the way we all were like, holy shit, the Switch is great. Holy shit, you know what I mean? In 2017, we were like, I love this thing. Holy fuck, blah blah blah. I think that's what's gonna happen with Xbox Scarlet, which is what I'm calling the next Scarlet.
If they release at the same time or roughly the same time, I think if I was a betting man, my odds would be that even though the software libraries in terms of exclusives will be fairly similar in number at that point, PlayStation may even be a little ahead, that in the United States, Xbox will be outselling PS5. I don't think that'll necessarily be true in Europe or Japan, but I think in the US it'll be demonstrably true.
I still think it's going to come down to Xbox doing, and this is again we're predicting, right? But just the way everything's laid out, I think in my head, maybe I just drank my own Kool-Aid and I've talked about it long enough that Xbox Scarlet or whatever you want to call it is going to be the it's backwards compatible with everything on Xbox One. Xbox One's everything going forward. You can play all your it goes back and forth. There are no Xbox 2 games. There's Xbox games that look fucking awesome on Scarlet. They look less awesome on Xbox One.
Xbox.
One of my predictions
To further
I think that's true for PS4 as well.
See, PlayStation 5 is where I get weird with it, where I just don't see that being. I think PlayStation is going to be like, we are on top of the world. We're the best selling console. People want consoles. Let's give them an amazing fucking console, right? And then, and I think it'll be a great console. I think PS5 will be great, and it will be backwards compatible with PS4. But I don't think you're going to be able to play PlayStation 5 games on PlayStation 4. And I think that's where Xbox is going to understand that, hey, we got to make up ground. So what we're doing is literally, this is an Xbox platform, and we have the Xbox streaming or the Microsoft streaming service built into it, and it can play on your phone, and it can play on your computer, and it can play on your tablet.
And I feel like it's so early, we still don't know, so I might sound like a complete fucking idiot in a couple years, but we've been hearing so much about the Xbox and the streaming services, and they have Game Pass and they have all this stuff. I think that Sony's working on all that shit as well. I think they're not talking about it. I think that's not there's nothing leaking from that. But when we see the landscape and when we hear all the different things with Verizon, with Google, with Amazon, with all this, there's no way Sony's just letting this all slide. And I think the PlayStation Now is a good reason for me to believe that. Forever we always talked about us not taking that seriously, but then it's now they have PlayStation 4 games as well. And I feel like that's a quiet thing happening in the background that they're eventually just gonna be like, PS5, here's what it is. Boom.
Here's the potential problem with that, Tim. I think that they would love to do that. But unlike all the other companies you just listed there, I don't think Sony has the infrastructure connections in the United States to make that happen. I don't think they have the ability to build the network, or at least they don't have the ability to do it nearly as easily as those other companies do. And it's not an easy task even for any of those. But Sony is not connected in that space.
Partner with Amazon. And partner with someone else. You know what I mean? It's I don't know.
Partnership, I think, becomes a much more likely possibility for them. As a matter of fact, I think it's their only option in that space.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really agree with the sentiment that Greg has on Xbox. I hadn't really thought about it until you said it, but there is a very good chance, I think, of that, toast of the town flip, because we look at what's going on now, and it's so freaking quiet almost. And, we've got Phil Spencer there. It's all about the games. They announced some studio purchases, but we don't really know what that translates to quite yet. And when you really start to add it up, I mean, they are Microsoft, for starters, one of the biggest, most rich companies in the world. And they've got this team that really understands games. But why isn't it translating to Xbox One? Maybe they gave up on it in some ways because all resources are on this next huge bet. So I like that concept, that boom, they come out swinging so hard with gaming, which is not what we saw with Xbox One. And you put xCloud and Microsoft Azure services and everything on top of that. That's a really good package. They just need, of course, all the third-party support.
It is, and that's the thing is, I hope that I'm wrong about this, because I do hope that Xbox has a fucking huge comeback. Because I don't even if Xbox has a huge comeback, I don't think Sony's going to fall as far as they did in PS3 or as far as Xbox One fell this generation. But bringing up the Switch, I think there's a key difference that I have no reason right now to believe is going to change with the next Xbox. I really hope I'm wrong. But Nintendo has first-party titles. PlayStation has the first-party titles. And I feel like Xbox, so far, its first-party titles, the big marquee titles, Halo, Gears, that's the connection to PlayStation when we're talking about things like Uncharted. We've moved past Uncharted now. And I'm not even talking about Last of Us. I'm talking about Horizon. I'm talking about Spider-Man. Yeah. They revitalized God of War in a way that I don't think Microsoft's going to ever be capable of doing for Gears of War. And I wish they could for Halo, but I don't think they're going to pull that off.
I bet they will.
Right? And so moving on from there, it's like, I feel like it's going to be very hard for Xbox to come with a huge first-party title. And if they do, I think it has to be something brand new like Horizon.
Yeah.
For the next gen, and I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
But that's why I think if you look at the recent announcements and them snapping up studios, and even whatever you got Rare in the background, Sea of Thieves is just one thing. I think maybe that's what we will finally see as they come out with these newer franchises. Like none of us knew what Last of Us or even Uncharted was at some point. It needed actually a console launch and the new tech, and so I actually think they're lined up pretty well for it.
It's going to be this, I think, wave of positivity in the way that everything's so great now with Game Pass, right? And the other services and backwards compatibility, and Phil Spencer saying all the right things. And yes, where is Gears and where is Halo? I think they're biding their time so they can get us to the next generation and to give those at the very end, right? But if it's backwards compatibility, who cares? But then launch this thing and say to you, look you in the face and talk about Xbox Scarlet and be like, here is the giant Xbox that'll run everything and be 4K. Here is the $99 Xbox that will stream everything and you can stream these games. And here is these 13 first-party studios we've been assembling, right? Yeah. Here is what the initiative in Santa Monica is working on. It is fucking Horizon. You know what I mean?
I fucking hope.
Right.
And just hearing about the teams right now, I'm like, right now it's just a bunch of logos.
Sure, but I mean that's what I want until I hope that when the Xbox whatever a reveal event for what they is, I hope it is. Here's what Coalition's working on this. Here's what the Initiatives game is, right? Bam. Here's what Ninja Theory is. Bam.
Yeah.
And it's just hit after hit of like, yep, these are new things.
Fuck, that'd be
But
rad.
do you need to know any more than the fucking people who made Hellblade are making another fucking game you can only get here that looks awesome?
Yeah, I mean they will push that. Also in the middle of this discussion, kind of rising in my mind, this idea that Nintendo is either like completely borked or enacted secret genius. I'm tempted to lean toward the latter. In the midst of all this talk about streaming services and the rest of that affecting next generation, and I think it's obvious to all of us it's going to be a huge part of what's coming. Switch is uniquely positioned because no matter what happens in the streaming space, Nintendo doesn't have that infrastructure background either. So again, you're probably looking at a partnership model. But they also are working on a handheld where we're not going to expect streaming capability for some time either. That's going to be something I think the folks are going to... Wireless streaming is probably something we're going to move toward in the next generation, like over 5G, et cetera, that kind of backbone streaming service. So Nintendo having a console that's primarily perceived as a handheld is largely going to insulate them during this period of time and give them a few years to figure out what they're going to do next. Yeah. And I have not thought about that until this very moment.
You think so? I mean, they're testing streaming in Japan.
They are, but they can't do it here. Japan is a completely different animal. Japanese, this fact that the country is geographically so small, so dense, and so wired makes streaming work fine there. It's the same reason they're not testing streaming here. Because the United States, people don't like to hear that we're not the best at everything. Our internet blows. U.S. internet sucks. If you're in one of the major cities, maybe it's okay. But throughout the United States, where a vast number of the video game customer base lives, streaming's not likely to work without infrastructure improvement or some kind of extremely powerful compression technology. Probably a combination of both. And so I think that streaming is coming next gen. I think it's going to be a immense factor for the people that can build the infrastructure to make it take place. But I think Nintendo's not going to have to worry about that for a while.
I think streaming, I think we think about it kind of narrowly where it's like, oh, you're just playing the games live from it. But I also think that there's another side to it, which is like the Netflix model of being able to download stuff and PlayStation Now and Game Pass even, right? And I feel like Nintendo is doing that currently with its NES Online games. And I think that it's going to be a pretty easy transition into full games.
And the nice thing is I think they know we don't expect any more from them for a while.
Yeah.
And
I'm
that's
totally
an
fine with
interesting
that
place
shit.
for them to be. And it largely has to do with this thing being a handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They're
mean, it'd
playing
be interesting to
four-dimensional
see how the other companies do tackle it. That's the one thing we haven't heard from Xbox or Sony, but you can't not look at the Switch and be like, dang, like there's so many sales. It's doing really well, and they're looking at mobile phones. It's just amazing.
I mean, I think, again, that's
And
Xbox.
They don't
That's
have
Sony.
it. Yeah, I mean, maybe we see Microsoft could be the company to do it, that you have that version that is.
When they showed that video, right?
Play it
It was,
how you want.
as I've talked about before, when Microsoft and Google went back and forth with those announcements, I was like, this is fucking awesome.
And then we had Amazon the other day. Just that leak came out, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, looks like they're getting involved too."
Yeah.
I mean, dude, my favorite thing about the Nintendo Switch is being on a plane, using my little like holder thing,
Yeah.
having it there and playing with a real controller, pro controller.
oh, you bring the Pro, yeah.
And it's just like, I would love to just get rid of the fucking Switch and have an iPad Pro that streams the games. Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, it doesn't matter. It's like just being able to have that, being able to download the games to the thing and somehow have that work. That would be insane.
Yeah.
But
And
Tim
you
Getty. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, you touch on an important point, which is where is Apple still? They've had every opportunity in the world, and that was one of the ones on my mind. I think they're out there. I feel like, whatever, I'm just going to say it because it's fun. By 2021, we will finally have Apple's solution to holding a controller and playing not only on like an iPad, but your TV. I think it's been really in the background to everything else they got going on, but I feel like they're finally going to get there and take that stab. Like Apple TV disappeared too, but like, I mean, they already have like, Ding Dong XL. The only thing missing is a
They have to do.
Killer app.
They have
Killer
to.
app.
Apple has to do something to make more money. I have trouble imagining a Tim Cook-led Apple ever.
I don't
making
think
a
that
serious play at that.
they're not going to make a ton of money on gaming. I mean, hardware.
Well, they
is where
make a ton of money on gaming. That's
Yeah,
the
but
thing.
not compared to this.
That's
where they make all their money.
That's where they're making
iPhone,
all their money on
by
gaming.
far.
I mean, what was it? Almost 70% of apps sold on the App Store at this point, or money generated on the App Store is generated through games. They're making tons of money
Yeah, but
hand
that's
over
just the App
fist on
Store.
games. Well, we say just the App Store, but that's
It is a lot. I'm just saying hardware sales is crazy amount comparatively.
Yeah.
My only point there was that that's why they haven't taken it seriously, and it is surprising. They've had every opportunity.
I don't think they
Apple
will.
has been
They're
actively hostile to what we would consider traditional gaming since Jobs returned in '98. I mean that has never changed in the company culture. It could, because they need to sell something.
Yeah.
They have a problem
Dude,
right now.
They got to call up
Google,
Sakamoto Jones.
Amazon, the only thing missing is Apple still. Like, where's their interest, And I think it's been out there and might come up. That wasn't really one
The
of
iPlay. Yeah.
They're capable of it. I don't know if their hubris will allow it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they want to get in a crowded space, because it's getting crowded real fast.
My next one, Final Fantasy VII Remake, will actually come out, at least episode 1, but it'll be better received than the last few Final Fantasy games and actually well liked.
Better received than 15?
Then I'm going to go from 13 on.
Well, 15 was pretty beloved, I thought.
It was kind of mixed.
Yeah,
I think
what's
this
the
is gonna get a-
what's the Metacritic on Final Fantasy 15? I'm just curious about this, because I feel like that game was, yes, the last third of the game is not finished.
I bet you it
but
was around
I'd say it's
80.
in the high 80s would be my guess.
I think that's too high. I think it was
I think
around
in the high
80.
80s.
I'm going to say 81.
I'm gonna say
I'm going to
high
say
80s.
85. I like this game.
I bid
Yeah.
$1.
I mean, regardless, to me, like I'm talking 9 above. Like, is what I'd want for this.
Super.
Really?
Metascore is 81.
81.
User
That's
score
a- that's a
7.6.
lot lower than
Yeah,
I thought.
can I?
What?
They
Nailed it,
fucking
baby.
Yeah. I think
So you're saying
it'll be-
you're saying it's
Thank you,
received
Look
as a
at him.
9?
That's what he
It'll be
screams.
better than that, but also the Metascore. I'm talking about like the public consensus on Final Fantasy 15, which is that it was fine, but it's not great.
I think that had it been finished, it would have been great.
I mean, I agree with you, but
that's
it
the
wasn't.
problem with it. 7
But then
will
there
be
was so much
released
DLC
Seven's
to
gonna-
finish it, and then it didn't finish it.
7 will be well received for 2 reasons. One, I do think it'll be a tight, well-designed game by Square terms.
Yes. Yes.
And 2, I think that nostalgia and the fact that people want it to succeed alone will carry it pretty far. It's actually, but I think it will likely be a critically better received game than 15,
Yeah.
even with all that said.
I think that the only reason that this is a bold prediction at all is because the flip side of what you said, like half the people are nostalgic and want to see this happen. Half the people are nostalgic and don't want anything that they love to change ever.
Yeah.
But I feel like those people, a lot of them are going to be surprised by this game.
I don't think there's going to be implied bodybuilder sexual assault in this version of
Maybe
Final
not.
Fantasy VII.
Maybe not.
I don't think that's going to happen.
who knows, man?
Because that was in the original.
Yeah. Do you think Final Fantasy VII Remake it's actually going to come out
Yes.
by 2021?
I think at least part 1. Yes, absolutely. Wow. Also, while we're
Deep
on,
breath from Fran. He's
while
like,
we're on the hot takes on the scores, Tim,
go.
I'm
I
going to
believe
hop
it's going to
in.
be awesome. I'll say that.
I'm going to pop in with Death Stranding has a Metacritic somewhere in the 80s.
Which is unexpected. That's a 7-9 right there.
That to me is such a surprising thing because I think it'd either be 9 above or under 8.
No, I think what we're going to get with Death Stranding, and I literally have no basis on this. except
You're not from the future.
gut. Yeah, I'm not from the future. Is a game where nearly impossible expectations are being piled on something that is, in fact, a video game. Mm-hmm. And that while Hideo Kojima is a tremendous, super gifted, extraordinarily capable, uber talented video game making genius, it's still hard to make a big giant video game. And he's unfettered relative to what he's had before. And when we've seen Kojima unfettered, we tend to get Metal Gear Solid 2 or 4.
Fucking great game.
Maybe a little more than we get
Both
the
great
best
games.
Metal Gear Solid games, 1 and 3.
Ooh, hot takes
And-
here.
Oh man.
I think
Always
that
Jared.
I think what we're going to see is a great. And I'm using that IGN scale. Probably, I'm guessing higher in the 80s, but I'm going to say 80s. Great, but not world-changing video game from Hideo Kojima.
For the things that I love most about Metal Gear Solid as a franchise, which are the crazy stories,
Sneaking
the
suits.
world, the characters, all that stuff, Metal Gear Solid 5 might be my least favorite Metal Gear Solid game. The gameplay, though, is a 10 out of 10 impeccable, one of the best video games I've ever played in my life.
Yeah,
And
MGS's game.
the fact that you can take those two things and that game is still amazing when added together. I think Death Stranding, from the story perspective, from all that stuff, who the fuck knows? It could be Kojima back to like smaller scale Metal Gear Solid 1. I don't think it's going to be. But I do think the gameplay is going to be better than Metal Gear Solid 5.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I fucking hope so.
I do too.
God, I hope so.
I mean, the fact that MGS5 the gameplay was as good as it was,
Insanely good.
I'm like, they got this. That is modern game design to me at its best. And if they have vision for this game, I
It
think
is
it's gonna be good.
definitely the best gameplay in any Metal Gear game.
But I do think that all the story stuff is gonna take the score down or bring the score up. We'll see. I think that's less
what I
likely.
hope is that the pacing is good. I think the gameplay will be good. What I hope is that it's not too much of one thing and not enough into the other. I hope it doesn't plod. There needs to be somebody inside who's able to say to Mr. Kojima, maybe we should think about
Not a
this
chance.
a little more. And without that,
We got Norman Reedus there. He's just like, that sounds cool, man.
and again, this is me picking on one of
Not
my
even. Reedus
old-
has been in public in interviews like, I don't even know what's happening.
This is
Cool,
an
but I don't know what's
attempt
going
at a
on.
hot take. This is a legitimate worry about one of my all-time favorite game designers. I think that Snatcher and Police Knots and Metal Gear 1 and that some of these are just extraordinary benchmarks in milestones in gaming. But I don't know if Death Stranding is necessarily set up for that kind of success.
I think
Are you also, I'm sorry, saying Death Stranding comes out in 2021?
I think it's out by 21.
By 2021. Okay.
supposed to be. I think. I was going to say, I actually think the opposite will be without all of the shackles of, you get stuck in that world and the gameplay mechanics. Obviously, they evolve, but I think without it, it'll be the opposite. You'll be like, oh my God, like, look at what he's been able to do now with like a free mind in this new world. So, I mean, obviously, I'm hyped about it, but I think we're going to see the opposite. You're like, holy cow, this new world.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
But
Jared.
I'm worried that expectation is going to screw it.
What's your next one?
Oh,
that was yours. That was yours. Sorry, Fran.
I've got tons of them here.
Bring
I'm ready
one.
to throw 'em
Bring
in.
one.
I think by 21, I don't know if anything will be out, but it will have been announced by Nintendo that they will actually have released like a real mobile game, like a core mobile game, be it a real Mario game or a real Link to the Past or whatever it is, which they've traditionally, right, Mario Run, and like we haven't really got a real one yet.
Fire Emblem Heroes.
What?
Fire Emblem
Yeah,
Heroes.
but that's not really
Dragalia Lost.
Fire Emblem Heroes, yes, but okay, I'm sorry, that's not Mario or Zelda or whatever. So I think by then we will
I
finally.
don't know.
have-
Fire Emblem now, it's up there.
I love Fire Emblem. I
as a
played Fire
franchise.
Emblem. It was great, but meaning that's not Mario, it's not Zelda, and a mainstay. And again, Mario Run wasn't like quite what I think we wanted. It was good actually, but it sort of was forgettable in a lot of ways. I think. So I think by then, so I don't know if anything will be out, but we'll have the solution to it that it's coming, and that's as far as I got with that thought.
Yeah,
But
I think Mario
think about
Kart
it.
will be the closest one we get. And we're
On the
getting that at
platform,
some
maybe.
point.
Yeah,
Mario
there
Kart
you go.
World
Maybe
Tour.
you'll be able to actually play.
Well, they've already announced it.
Is that a port?
Mario Kart World Tour. No, it's going to be its own game. It was supposed to be talked about by the end of last year, but they're like,
missed
no,
that.
we're going to talk about that in 2019.
They haven't shown anything on
Nope,
it yet.
just
though,
a
right?
logo.
Yeah,
Oh, I
just a
didn't
logo.
even see
Yeah.
that for. It is coming to like Android and iOS. Do we know that? Okay.
Don't worry, you can 7-9 it when it comes out.
I'm
without
so
actually
interested.
giving a fucking chance.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah. This is one I started cooking on today during Games Daily, and I'm ready to take it out of the oven and serve it.
There we go.
Get all in my
I think
face.
that I think Disney will have wiggled out of the Star Wars exclusivity agreement with EA, and I think that Xbox will have a Star Wars exclusive game announced. Ooh, I think they will have said.
When does Disney's deal end?
Yeah, it's a 10-year thing, right? That's what we're talking about today. 2023 would be the thing. Yeah, 2023 would be the idea right now, but there's got to be some escape clause in there.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
But to give up an exclusive on that, I mean, I guess multiple.
I think
you can
Microsoft's
still
going to
an
have money, and I
exclusive.
think, this is what I was talking about on Games Daily today. I really think that the EA Star Wars deal was made in a different industry, and I think as you look right now at Marvel Games, who I will continue to say I think is killing it and making so many awesome moves. I think you look at them and they're like, fuck, we need a Bill Roseman for Star Wars, and he can build his Star Wars games team, and they don't make the games internally, but they partner us up with the people that we should be partnered up with, rather than what I think happened, which was, hey, we're Disney, we have Star Wars, we need to team up with somebody who's great at video games. EA's great at video games. They have a whole bunch of studios, they have cool ideas, they have resources, they have assets. Let's put them together and go. And I think you'll see the Star Wars czar of games now be going like, okay, cool. Who wants to do what? And I think you'll see Phil Spencer.
Phil, come out on stage. Hey, Amy Hennig, what have you been working on?
Dude, this is exactly what I was
Amy
talking
Hennig has joined Ninja Theory, and they're making a single-player narrative Star Wars.
Yeah, my
game.
crazy today
Yeah,
in
something like
Games
that, I
Daily,
guess.
one of the people on Patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, their question was like, "What would be your dream thing?" And I was like, Phil comes out on an E3 stage and he is like, sorry to see that happen. I'm like, you know what? Let's just, and it's Amy talking. We fade up on her, and it's that they brought her on and brought back as many of the team members as they could, and they have the rights to it, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Or they just let her go again. But yeah. But you're talking about how no, I mean let her go and make her own game. But I mean, like, you're talking about like how we're always saying Xbox, needs an Uncharted, right?
Yeah.
And, like they've said that they need something like that. Like
What's better than that? Even how about a
Star Wars
version of
Uncharted?
that?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Dude, that's.
But that's when, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Well, not wishful thinking, but that is like our usual E3 bullshit.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, if I ran Sony, if everything went perfectly, this is what I would do. Why am I talking like this?
CEO talk, man.
I'm gonna say it. VR will not be a pillar of the next Xbox or PlayStation in a major way.
Oh,
It might still exist. It might just be a thing that PlayStation has.
Do you consider, if I was going to say, hey, right now is PlayStation VR a major pillar
Yes.
of PlayStation? You'd say yes. Okay.
Yes, I think it's going to be less than it is now.
Okay.
Did Ding Dong VR not change?
Did you
your
not see that?
mind?
Do we need to roll the footage again?
To be fair, I think it's going to work better as a mobile game. I don't need that. I need VR for that. What do you think, though, Greg?
My prediction was that in 2021, by 2021, PlayStation VR 2 is a reality. It's a wireless headset and has better move ones. I think that it's, and I have no internals on this at all. I think PlayStation VR Gen 1 has gone better than they thought it would. And I mean, obviously we saw the old reports of like, yep, Andrew House being like, this sold way more units than I thought it would, and that's why it's been hard to keep them on shelves, and yada, yada, yada. But I think even now, the continued success it's found, and again, I'm using success small s, not like, fucking, it's Spider-Man numbers, but in the way that it has garnered a PlayStation community in the same way the PS3 did, in the same way that, like, there's a unified, passionate base around it, and there are developers doing really cool shit on it.
No, I think you raised a really good point there. I think about how Kinect sold extraordinarily well, better than they thought it would during the Xbox 360 generation, and that what really killed Kinect was that they tried to force us to buy it. That if they hadn't packaged Kinect in the box with the original Xbox One package, we might still be playing Kinect games, and they might still be making a lot of money on them. I think if PlayStation can look at VR and build around the same kind of model, I think there's a real chance that we're going to see it. I think they put way too many resources into it now to just walk away from it. But I also don't think they're going to try to make us.
I don't think they're going to make you do
purchase
it either. Yeah, but I definitely think if you think it's a pillar now, it will still be a pillar. And the craziest thing about my prediction, I think, is wireless.
I also think that they might build service-oriented products around VR for the first time. In addition to games, they might take the first step towards software that puts us in the same room with our PlayStations, where you're sitting here
I know
and
you're talking
I'm
about,
sitting at home, and the experience changes. Where there's a kind of version of the of the Kind of Funny Gamescast where this desk is sitting in your living room.
Oh, you're saying for actual viewing of VR
for actually
shows.
viewing of VR shows, communicating with friends and relatives, etc.
Maybe it's funny. I think there's a market for it. I actually expected Facebook to get there with the acquisition of Oculus and all that stuff way back. I mean, we just haven't seen it. Yeah, maybe for the reasons we're saying, we don't think it's a major pillar.
I mean, I think that the VR thing to me it's like 3D in movies, where it was a huge fucking thing, and then it's still here now, but it's
just a
most
small
people
thing.
don't like it, and after that, it's like it's just kind of there to make money. And I feel like with PlayStation, it'd be there to make money in the same way that Nintendo has always had its console and then handheld. They fucking own the handheld side always.
Yeah.
Even when console was like this or that, I feel like PlayStation's like, well, we got the like mainstream console market VR. It's gonna just keep selling. It's gonna be a success. So we have that.
I was going to ask, do you think they would ever consider detaching it as a standalone? No, granted, it might work on both, but as its own product that you don't have to hook up to your PlayStation.
I'm sure down the line they'd love that. I don't think we're anywhere close. Not in 2021.
That'd be too soon. Still,
Yeah,
huh?
no way. No, I think it's too bold to say wireless, but I'm saying it because I'm a bold individual.
I love it, dude. You are a
They call me bold
futurist.
I do call you bold.
Jared.
For portions of the year, Fortnite is the #1 streaming game on Twitch in 2021.
For portions of the year.
Yeah, there may be
New release stuff?
periods where something new
Got
pops
you.
up and goes
Okay,
above
okay.
it, but for significant portions of the year, Fortnite
Still
is the
2 years from now.
#1 streaming game on Twitch.
I put down Fortnite will still be dominant.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, on platforms like that, we've seen it with whether it was League or Minecraft, and Minecraft owning YouTube forever. It definitely is possible to have that kind of lifespan. I mean, we've only gone a little over a year now, so it's crazy to. I have trouble imagining because I feel like I've been playing the same map over and over again. Well, we have, but there's so much more to come, obviously. So yeah, I think you're probably right.
Fran, last one.
I honestly don't have anything as good
Cool.
as you guys. So
Good.
I'm gonna
Then
let
I have
you
a question
skip.
for you.
Yeah.
Bungie.
Oh, sure. Where do I see
Do
them?
they stay independent? Do they match up with someone?
Yeah, no, I see them as still independent 2 years from now, taking the path that they chose to make. And like I said, maybe we see Destiny's model change dramatically from being this $60 game to maybe there's both. Maybe there's Destiny as the service and updating. Like today, they try to update the service they have today and keep up with that while they make this other game. But yeah, I do see them actually being independent. I mean, whatever happened with Activision is still a mystery. It could be one side, by the way, that they didn't make enough money, and in the contract, you think about like, how did they get out of that contract? Did they buy themselves out? And
So I always get
Different thing,
confused
but-
about this, and I'm sure you three know way
Yeah.
better than I do about the publishing versus development.
yes,
Who would publish Destiny?
I mean, they said they want to be an independent publisher. So wait, what's good? Is Devolver Digital like a publisher?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So they take that model, but then they're making the game themselves. Like meaning smaller publishers, do exist. They don't. Activision's reach and amount of games is huge, or size of games. So yeah, they would do it all on their own, and just like Epic, think of it that way. They make their own game, they publish their own game.
There's a lot of expertise that goes into that, so it's going to mean a significant increase in personnel. You got to hire people that understand media buys and TV and very, you got to, you're bringing an entire new division into your company. And not only do you have to bring in the expertise, but when you bring that publishing division into a company, you are changing the culture, because those folks are all going to expect a seat at the table in the game design decisions. They're gonna start coming into your meetings where you used to just being concerned with how do we make this work game wise, and they're going to say, how do we make this something we can sell? How do we make this more monetizable? How do we? You take a huge risk when you do it, but you also have more control over that kind of relationship than you do when you have somebody above you who's feeding you money that you then have to placate. It's a trade-off, but it is risky.
Yep.
Greg, what's your final one?
I gave it to you already.
Good. Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, This has been the Kind of Funny Gamescast. We're about to get into the post show. I'm going to read a couple of your submissions for your predictions from patreon.com/kindoffunnygames.
Tim
Bronze
Gettys.
members and above.
Tim Gettys. It's very important, but I'm just affronted that we've been on here over 2 hours now from the pre-show, and you still haven't wished me happy birthday.
Oh, we already said happy birthday to you, you
We got
birthday
you,
wishes
Sushi.
grubber.
Boo, Jared.
Happy
I
birthday,
wanna try
Jared.
my happy
Boo,
birthday.
Jared, boo.
Yeah, you should watch the Kind of Funny podcast to hear my thoughts on people who ask for birthday wishes.
Yeah, dude, they're not nice.
I love you. Happy birthday. 40th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Didn't we talk about it on the post show, on the pre-show?
Going on 45, fellas were falling.
Yeah, we did. The
Wow.
entire fucking pre-show was us talking about how old we actually feel like
It
we
was
are.
about Curry.
Boo,
Did we
Jared.
wish
No,
it?
it turned into Curry because we were talking about you being 40, but having been 40 for a long time.
I don't know that it was an explicit wish,
We
though.
called him
Fran, old man. Fran, grandpa.
Grandpa.
We talked about
Gramps.
being Gramps.
You know what? I didn't
Yeah.
get. I. It's not out there for the masses.
We said it. It was implied, Jared. You know?
By the time the masses see this, it won't be your birthday.
You know what?
Is this the
I'm
post show
40.
now?
Halo sucks. That's right.
Jesus
Wait, that was the
Christ.
post show? We're in the post show, right?
Halo doesn't
Now
suck.
we're in
Halo's
the
great.
post show.
No, right? That was when you hit your hand on the
Yeah,
table.
that
Oh,
way
God,
he's not on the record as saying Halo
Halo's
doesn't suck.
fantastic.
No.
Halo's fantastic.
Tim's going to get your cake, you big son. No, he comes out. Happy birthday.
This is cake you can't eat.
You should
Gotta
put
wait.
candles
We gotta
in the
wait for
sushi.
the.
Nobody knew, man.
Gotta wait for the post show.
I'm worried you guys
for
are going
some-
to throw sushi at me.
Joey
No,
put
dude,
candles in the
it's not
sushi
about-
and tell
it's
him
not
we
about
got it
the
for him.
sushi.
So I interrupted. We have
It's
these
fine.
wonderful Patreon supporters at the bronze level.
Yes,
And we really ought to read some of
We're
this
gonna, we're gonna read some. Did we get into the post show?
Yeah, I said now we're in the post show.
in the post show. That's
Joshua, what do you mean
fantastic.
Greg Def said something? I said a whole bunch of stuff on the show.
Yeah.
Mr. Yasmin said it began when Tim read my birthday message to Jared on the chat, and he said he's 40. So,
You know what? I wanted it to
I
get
don't
the
know
main
if you
episode.
say if someone's 40, though, if that's a birthday
but I
wish.
read his happy birthday message.
But that's
to him.
not yours to Jared. I
But
mean,
if I read
you
it,
didn't
happy
say
birthday,
happy birthday,
then I'm gonna
Jared.
be happy birthday from him, and also happy birthday from me.
You guys should
I would've
really
totally done
watch
that for
the
you.
KF podcast.
I'm sure you would have.
You should watch the KF podcast where he talks about this.
It's,
in
you know-
length.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Actually,
It's a whole thing.
Really-
I kind of leaned into that. I'm taking a
Cameron
bit of a heel
Kennedy
turn here.
says the developer of Ding Dong XL is pretty pumped on Twitter.
How do they know about this already?
I tweeted at him. I wanted the. I don't know
Oh,
if that's
you
what
did?
it is. Yeah, remember I said I'm
I'm
going to
sure
shoot this
that's
guy,
what
and
it
I
is.
want it on fucking PlayStation.
Ding dong. The best thing about it is there's this like wonderful like the ding dong sound. Like you hear that. Blah, blah.
That's what I was trying to hear.
But when you're playing with earphones, like when you're playing with headphones, you hear this ding dong ding dong every time you hit.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
you hear the XL.
When you were doing the ad,
Somebody in
you-
chat's
we
already
locked
addicted to
eyes,
Ding
and I
Dong.
just gave you the
So-
finger.
So early when we were doing the ad, when I was like, "Oh fucking Kevin," I look over and he just like flicks me off. I'm just like, I hate him so.
No, we made eye contact.
Happy
first.
birthday to you.
Happy birthday to Jen.
Copyright strike.
Happy birthday to Jen. It's a bunch of smoked ham.
Here's the thing. I was trying to stall because like Cool Greg earlier was like, "Hey, should I get Jared a cake?" And I was like, "No, can you go get him some ham?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got it." And so when you called me out for not saying happy birthday, I was like, "Shit, like Cool Greg, where's the ham?" So here we are. Happy birthday, Jared.
y'all.
I hope you're happy. We put a lot of
I'm
thought into
happy.
this.
I'm very
Well,
happy.
Grace, set off the
Thanks for-
fireworks.
All right,
Yeah,
so
love
let's
it.
fire. Here we go.
Cover the ham though. Oh my
God.
God.
Yay!
Do you want to start the post show now so people know we actually had the ham?
Yes.
Now the post show
That was
begins.
the real post show,
right.
ladies and gentlemen.